589 votes, and Chuku scored 339 votes. Kachiku promised a purposeful leadership to rescue the country from the current challenges facing it. The ADC candidate will be contesting the 2023 presidential elections alongside former Vice President Atiku Abubakar of the PDP, Bola Ahmed Tinubu of the All Progressive Congress APC, and former Anambra State Governor Peter Obi of the Labour Party. Well, joining us to discuss this and more is Kunle Lawal. He's the Executive Director of the Electoral College of Nigeria, and Ufoma Igbamuno, he's the Head of News in Nigeria Info FM 99.3. It's good to have you gentlemen join us in the studio.
Hi, Marianne. I'm not sure why you decided to bring myself and Kunle. But anyway, it's good to be here.
Kunle, it's good to have you join us.
It's a pleasure always, Marianne, and of course, it's a pleasure to be with Ufoma.
I know this. Let me start with you, because one would have thought that with the kind of clout, let me use that word loosely here, that a Kingsley Moghalu who has this, who this is not his first rodeo at this presidential ticket thing, and a Chuku Kamoye who also seemed to have garnered some favor from Nigerians, seem to have polled lesser votes as against a Dumebi who people barely really know. We don't even know if he really campaigned. He had that much media exposure. And so it leaves a lot of people wondering what exactly transpired at the ADC presidential primaries.
Okay, so with information made available to me, I'll try to make a few things clear. So the ADC, of course, adopted an intelligent move, which was that in every primaries being held, everyone was going to pool resources together, and those resources would form a jackpot in which delegates would be transported. They agreed to this at national level, and the truth is, this actions even come up from the Lagos gubernatorial primaries, which had the same problem. So they pooled these resources together, but of course, on the day of the primaries, a few bend downs happened. I would like to say Lagos gubernatorial primaries too was played like that. There's even a voice note where we have there was access to, which I overheard with some people that an aspirant, the one that won on both sides, were actually canvassing, raising funds for delegates. I think in the Lagos issue, there were even people that were made members and delegates on the same day. I'm not sure whether that happened in the presidential primaries, but it seems to become a set of things. ADC simply forgot it was a political party and freedom of association. The first person to bring them into limelight, of course, was Kingsley Moghalu when he was running for president. And then with Monye coming also, Monye coming into the game too, and a few other aspirants, Ayodele, etc. The game was now choked up. And somewhere down the line, there might be appears from nowhere, less than it clinches the form, pulls the average move. So we can effectively say primaries in a few parties have been the same. And okay, their name is ADC, but I think in their primaries they practiced an ADG, any dollar goes. Thank you.
Wow. I mean, because there are rumors when these kinds of events take place, you hear that these things are dollarized. And for a small party, using the word small loosely here, like the ADC, one would think that there would be pure internal party democracy, being that parties like this are striving not to be like the two major political parties. But from what Kunle is saying, that might not necessarily be the case. Why do you think that is?
It just shows you how much the country has deteriorated, not just in the last 7 years, but you could argue since independence. That's why stomach infrastructure would always work in most parts. That's why most politicians believe that, all they need to do is wait for you on election day at different polling units, and buy your votes with the 1,000 naira, 2,000 naira, or 3,000 naira allegedly that they usually sell. But at the end of the day, it also tells you that the move by the National Assembly, if you remember, just a few months ago when they were working on the Electoral Act 2022, they actually wanted it to be indirect primaries. That's what they initially put out. But of course, you would argue that constitutionally that doesn't necessarily work, because it doesn't give everybody room or people freedom of choice. And so that's why the president, decided not to agree and asked them to go back and, add other forms. But coming back to the ADC issue, yes, there are allegations. We possibly do not have facts to back it up right now. But, they say from every iota of rumors, there's some possibly atom of truth. And, of course, when these things, it's sad that reportedly, these delegates were bought with as low as $100. When the major parties were allegedly sharing 10, 15, 20, I even hear as much as $50,000 allegedly. The ADC reportedly, some of these delegates, got just $100. That's give or take about 50, 60,000 naira or thereabout, and voted the eventual winner. Again, all of these are allegations. We do not have facts to back it up. But it just sums up where the country is headed, such that these persons, because of course you remember it's not the general election.
Yes,
this is just primary. It's just a small circle. So all of your popularity really doesn't come into play. Because again, if I go back to the major political parties, that you could argue that there are a number of politicians in the major political parties who possibly would have gotten the nod of their parties. But did they have enough war chest? Well, the answer is staring at you.
Kunle, I'm back to you because one of the things that the Electoral College, that I understand the Electoral College is trying to do, is to move away from the norm and educate people, not just political parties now, but people, the average voter, about how we can have freer and fairer, elections. But how do we even start to talk about these things if the political parties themselves do not necessarily believe in this free, fair, process? Now, let's take, for example, like the normal man would say that, oh, we have, not credible people in these parties. These people are corrupt, allegedly. But then the people who are members of these political parties are Nigerians. They're not from Mars. So obviously, and these people who call themselves delegates, who allegedly take these monies, are also Nigerians. Does that not also reflect that we, the people, have come to be okay with that modus operandi, or am I wrong?
So the Electoral College, of course, has worked closely with that, I must say, in the past. We work closely, we work with every other political party, and, to have been part of primaries and see the kind of things we've got to see. The ADC, we even thought, had a different ideology. They called themselves third force, which of course they thought or assumed that they were a little different. But to hear allegations of people receiving $5 then when they voted and then received $95, it's quite depressing. The Electoral College has worked with the ADC, tried to train a few, even tried to send some of our graduated associates to the ADC for grooming within the party. And I from what I've seen, I think we'd rather just keep our students, our associates at home. But anyway, going on to, the issues within all other political parties and the ADC inclusive. Why the ADC comes as a surprise is because you find out that the basis of which we now understand clearly, because this is the first election year the Electoral College is going to, we have now found out that the buffet of corruption is actually being spiced, eaten, and cooked by the middle class. So, of course, if the middle class is in direction and say they are not, because a price tag has not been put on their head, as we've seen on the case of the ADC. I remember when Kingsley Moghalu and Chukwuemeka Moye joined, it was such a big thing. They were so happy they were attracting clout. And the moment the former PDP guy bust in the game, it became, game as usual. So I find it a little sad that the ADC didn't take, or its neck and its members do not take value above status quo of things. I think as I've won the primaries and I've been part of conducting about 4 or 5. And I'll tell you that if you were at that level as a party, what you should have done is direct primaries and not an indirect primaries, and thereby buying delegates. Now, this is what the Electoral College finds most complacent. In ward congresses, which were held in Oyo State and Lagos State by the ADC, you didn't have an attendance of up to 100. Then how the hell in the primaries or gubernatorial in Lagos, you have over 500, and in a, what they call it, in a presidential primaries, do you have close to 1,000? It's highly depressing.
Ufoma, because we don't have time, I'm going to toss this question to you. There seemed to be so much hope, to borrow his word, ginger, that we were having newcomers, especially for the ADC. They had at some point a lot of presidential aspirants, and one would have thought that it would have been, a very good way to see democracy work inside that party, but that's not the case right now. Do you see a lot of crisscrossing from the ADC? Do you see people moving away because of what has happened and the outcome of the elections? And looking at does he stand a chance?
To be very honest with you, I try not to reduce people's chances. Even I can tell them privately. Excuse me, but I try not to do that. Maybe publicly. Because, of course, I'm supposed to be unbiased and all of that as a journalist. But I remember telling one of the presidential aspirants in 2018, talking about Sowore. He came to our office, by the way, in Port Harcourt. And, I told one of his aides, please stop kidding around. You're not going to win this thing. Let's not even joke. But one way or the other, I've also realized that you don't want to reduce, the efforts other people are putting into the picture. Are they going to go away? Well, I think I saw Chuku, what's his name, Monye, earlier today put out a tweet, just 2 words, Peter Obi, those 2 words. Make of that what you wish. For the ADs, for the Kingsley Moghalu, I think I saw his comments, suggesting that for now he doesn't know what he's going to do. He's going to take his time, before reacting to this loss. But I think we have a third force. I think we have an option that people are already looking at. I've seen a lot of persons say, oh, it's just online, it's just on Twitter. But trust me, there is a third force. And if you do not take a certain Peter Obi in the Labour Party seriously, well, maybe you might just about be taken in seriously, because even the 2 major political parties, the PDP and the APC, are looking at it and wondering, wow, what is going on?
And I was hoping that there would be another, because there's so many third forces, and we're seeing a Kwankwaso on the other end.
Yes, of course. Kwankwaso is another powerful force. Maybe might not do so much in the southern part of the country, but Kanu, Jigawa, and a couple of the states in the north, well, he's definitely going to pull some weight.
Well, we'll keep our fingers crossed and keep watching these stories as they develop. Kunle Lawal is the Executive Director of the Electoral College of Nigeria, and Ufoma Igbamono is the Head of News, Nigeria Info FM 99.3 here in Lagos. Thank you so much, gentlemen.
Thank you for having me.
Part of the conversation. All right. Well, thank you all for staying with us. That's the show tonight. We will round off the show today with our weekly highlights. So we give you an idea of what we've been discussing all through the week. Post Politics returns on Monday. I am Mary Anacone. Have a great weekend. Y'all better have a great weekend.
Senator Tinubu, or that, however we want to call him, has been building this over time. If you check it, how many people has he helped to get into office? There are countless people. Do you expect these people to turn their backs on him? So the mode of primaries that APC chose favored him, or when I don't know how they chose it, but there is no way, based on the capacity he's been building, for him to get to lose this, because pretty much everybody there, one way or the other, has benefited from his generosity, or from his politics, or from his guidance, however you want to look at it. And there is no way. I wasn't even surprised. For me, at the end of the day, you could say, if you were looking at social media a few days back, you might think others had a chance, but if you understood politics, there is no way.
I would say that, frankly, I would rather that Bola Tinubu withdraws from the contest and allows the vice president.
Why?
My reasons are profound. Bola Tinubu, Asiwaju himself, is practically too old, weary, and tired for the enormous responsibility of fixing, resetting, and reworking Nigeria. And that is why it becomes very difficult for the supporters of the vice president to make him step down. The truth is that from the southwest, the candidacy of the vice president is more attractive to people across the nation. Beyond the fact that Asuwaju is a political figure and a phenomenon, when
in spite of the sentiments about rotation, between the north and the south and what have you, we must remember that at the end of the day, the people that are involved in all of these calculations, and strategizing and all of that are politicians. And to them, the overriding interest is their own interest first. So, as the emergence of Alhaji Atiku Abubakar was more about which of the candidates those politicians felt stood the greatest chance of defeating an incumbent government, regardless of whichever candidate that incumbent government or incumbent party eventually presents. So in the eyes of the delegates and what have you, they felt that whether, regardless of the zoning arrangement, Atiku stood the biggest chance. That's not to say, that's without prejudice to the very show of shame that we saw with how money became a major factor.
Well, facing out the politicians is not the best. All the politicians, as you mentioned. You see, this time around, people have to look at the track record of all the politicians that are aspiring to go into positions, especially the executive arm of government, because that is probably the most important arm of government out of the three. Because if you get that one right, other two are certainly going to be good also. So I think that's what to prepare. We don't, this is not the time really for us to go and start any experiment. Some of the young men and women that we have seen taking power, especially at state level, some of them were a huge disappointment. People.
Peptic ulcer disease is the disease of, not exactly disease, a condition, a clinical condition where there is an ulceration, meaning a wound in the stomach. Peptic, coined from the name peptic acid. Peptic acid is found in the gastric. So sometimes you hear gastric ulcer, you hear peptic ulcer. They're not physically different. They are just relating to the stomach. The only other different type of ulcer is duodenal ulcer, which is just the next organ after the stomach, all right? The stomach, which is the sac that contains food, also contains gastric acid or peptic acid that helps to break down protein. The word peptic there is directly related to protein, okay? So it helps to break down protein. But over time, there could be hypersecretion of this acid that could now cause a breakdown in the walls of the stomach. Now, the stomach walls originally contains mucous membranes or mucosa that prevents this acid from eating up the stomach lining. For some reasons, again, this mucous membrane could also be reduced or absent and further allowing this acid to eat up the stomach. And when this happens, you come down with what you call the peptic ulcer disease. Peptic ulcer disease can be caused by a couple of things. One of them is stress. During stressful moments, there is a hypersecretion of acid, right? Just to break down the food in it. It's natural. In the whole body, when you're stressed, the body metabolic rate is increased and intensified, and you have many activities going on. Carbohydrates is broken down, more proteins are broken down, fatty acids are broken down to provide one major thing, which is glucose, to allow you to think, send glucose to vital organs. One of them is the brain, the other is the eye, the other is the heart. All these organs, want to function optimally. Now, the gastric juice is also enhanced to break down any food in your body. So that's why if you just ate and you get into very major activity, not long after you'll be looking for the food. Or if you're chewing gum, because those are signs of stress. Now, so stress is one of them. But then when you try stress in an empty stomach, recurrently, you are giving room for this acid to act on the walls of your intestine. The second major cause of peptic ulcer disease is a bacteria called Helicobacter pylori. Helicobacter pylori is a very dangerous bacteria because, a bacteria that dwells in acid, I really don't know what you want to do to that bacteria, but basically, it stays there and it eats up the lining of the intestine, all right? So this is one of the implicative factors for those who are positive for ulcers. One of the third causes is the use of drugs, certain drugs, or certain chemical substances that are erosive, caustic soda. One of that one is some of all these drugs you buy on the road, you just ingest them, you swallow them anyhow, especially pain relievers. That's why you don't just go out to take pain relievers just anyhow. They affect the stomach, and of course they potentiate, because what they do is they inhibit that mucous membrane I talked about that prevents the acid from getting on the stomach, and then they remove it. And you see, you have the acid, the direct contact, and then you have some ulceration, wounds in your stomach, and it can get so bad that by the time those wounds get them straight to a vessel, it ruptures the vessel, and then you have bleeding. So you have people bleeding sometimes, all right? And then one other cause is a genetic factor. So sometimes ulcers can be genetic, all right? It's called the Zollinger-Ellison syndrome, where the vagus nerve that supplies the intestine is hyperstimulated, and so you have excessive secretion of acid. And listen, this is specific for certain people, okay? Just the way some people sweat more than other people, just the way some people, eat more than the other people. Some people produce saliva more than other people. You can also produce gastric acid more than other people. Well, the word is try to eat recurrently. Don't fast every time. If you're fasting, let it clear that you're fasting, okay? And you want to fast guidedly, okay? Maybe with a doctor. You like to see your doctor first and be sure that you're good to go, okay? If not, you don't do it recurrently, okay? What other things can you do to prevent it? Yeah, irrational use of drugs. Don't just take drugs because you see them. Don't drink chemicals easily. The use of alcohol potentiates it. Regular intake of alcohol exposes you to possibilities of coming down with peptic ulcer disease. Now, one other thing is ingestion of diet. What kind of food should you do? High levels of acid containing diet should be minimized. All right. Sometimes you see people taking all kinds of concussions, herbal concussions. You are exposing yourself to great dangers. Okay. When you do all kinds of acid containing meals or diet, lime, you're trying to mix lime and ginger, and you're trying to lose weight, but you are potentiating something else. So it's important that you are careful what you are mixing, prevent it. You don't have to take excessive protein diet. Some people like to take roasted meat, for example, what we call suya locally. You do a lot of suya and you do a lot of alcohol. That can potentiate peptic ulcer disease for people. So prevent it by reducing this type of foods. Trying not to take a lot of carbonated drinks. Alcohol dropped drastically. Water is very important. And before you do some of these things, please eat right. All right, eat your balanced diet. Don't skip meals. For basic treatments, you just get to meet your doctor who would prescribe the drugs for you. But you're not supposed to eat heavy foods, but just eat in bits. All right. So you wake up in the morning, you want to sometimes do alkalinized water and then a slight breakfast. Not anything acidic. A balanced diet is fine. If you must go for a fast, then tell your doctor. Major symptoms, remarkable symptoms of peptic ulcer disease is that you have painful sensation here on your upper stomach. Many times that gets you to the back. Many people have diagnoses of peptic ulcer disease, which are really not peptic ulcer disease. So they come up to the hospital and they say I have ulcer. And I say, who said? And they say, well, my auntie said, or my uncle said. No, you have to have a diagnosis of peptic ulcer disease. And one of them, like I said, is a test of H. pylori. The other test is, which is usually the gold standard. There's urine breath test, one of the tests, but the gold standard is an endoscopy, where you get to see the internal organ and be sure that there's a wound there. And this usually happens when there's bleeding, from the mouth or from the anus. All right. Other symptoms, like I said, is bleeding. You have bleeding. So you don't just have pain. You have pain that spans from this upper stomach down to the back. So it feels like a dagger piercing through you, down to the back. It's characteristic of that. Okay. Especially worsened when you've not eaten or when you just ate. The moment you take in food, you feel that sharp pain that, wanes for a while. So food affects the pain. Okay. Of course, bleeding is one of the side effects, one of the symptoms of peptic ulcer disease, bleeding, either from the mouth, just see slight trace of blood, or from the anus. One more thing is the heartburn. You feel that constricting pain, heartburn. Then lastly, there are few other symptoms, but one of the remarkable symptoms is a headache. You have a persistent headache that can be called a migraine. Not necessarily a migraine, but many people just say, oh, it's a migraine, but it's not. You notice that headache coincides with when you have the stomach pain, or it precedes the stomach pain. Now, that is a kind of symptom of a peptic ulcer disease. Usually, it's said that some of the brain cells, have some mimicking cells that look like the ulcer cells. So whenever the ulcer is firing, or whenever the gastric acid is firing, you have the same firing occurring in the brain, and you have that headaches. Whenever you have it, you need to treat properly for peptic ulcer disease.
Hello and welcome to What Are You Saying? #Ways, where we talk about topics in the news as it affects us all. I am Osayome Sale. Hello, ladies, and we have a full house. Money, she's back. Hello, Mani.
Hi, how are you?
Lovely mustard. Is this mustard or yellow?
Yeah, it's mustard. Mustard is
very
my
lovely. Very lovely.
Thank you.
How are you? How has
Fine.
the week been for you?
The week has been very, very good. Today was hectic.
We missed you on Monday.
So far, so good. Yes.
We're looking forward to having our conversation on politics.
Yes, I had domestic issues. So
I understand. Well, how are you though? How is everything?
Not bad at all.
Awesome. Utielu, how are you?
I'm here.
How is work?
Yay! So today was a good day. Today was a good day for one reason, but I can't say what the reason was, but today was a good day.
Okay, what's the point of sharing?
Exactly.
It?
Don't
Did they
tell
keep
us
our-
it was
you
a
know,
But you have to see how work was. I couldn't lie now, could I? It was a good day.
Smile.
Yeah.
But how about you?
Today
Are you
was-
guys going on public holiday as well?
Of course we have to. Yeah, we have to. So that they're not disgruntled.
I know.
Yeah, we need to rest.
I know.
Yeah.
At least I saw they are not disgruntled.
Yes, that's just why you. If not, we will work, please. Everybody has to earn their pay.
Everybody has to earn their pay,
We
right?
can't shout.
All right, so today we're discussing the challenges that young entrepreneurs face in Africa, right? And we have a fantastic guest with us. But here's what we found as today's quote. I think I was very naive early on, but that's also meant I didn't know what couldn't be done. I love this quote because, you know, sometimes people think that because you're young, you can't start up something. But sometimes ignorance is a bliss. Naivety is a bliss because it tells you that you can't think of impossibilities. And I see that happening a lot with our young entrepreneurs, right? Despite all the things that are happening, you see that they are just breaking a lot of ground. And I'm wondering, oh my God, where are they? You know? But there's a lot going on especially in the tech space. A lot of entrepreneurs, young entrepreneurs, are doing amazingly well. And we're happy to be hosting one of them today. So however, the zeal and resilience to thrive as a young entrepreneur in Africa, they are being impacted by varying challenges stemming from non-existent incentives, insufficient technical support, insufficient governance, inadequate infrastructure, and lack of funds. I mean, that's to mention a few, which is at its core, right? So Sandra Chuku is here to discuss the challenges young entrepreneurs face in Africa and how she has been able to grow amidst these challenges, and also celebrate her recent accomplishment on the Forbes Under 30 Entrepreneurs mention. Now, we'll do all of that, but first, let's take a break to see what we found in the news. Stay with us.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating, and successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
All right, you're still watching Ways. Pop some popcorn. Is that why I'm craving popcorn today? Grab a blanket and your favorite buddy, put away the cell phones and tablets, and then queue up a string of movies for a fun night of entertainment. Now, National Movie Night on the 2nd of Friday in June encourages us to start or restart a tradition of movie nights with friends and family. Movies have been bringing people together for over 100 years. The stars, the story, entertainers connect us and helps us to create memories. As technology evolves, so does how we enjoy our movie nights, has evolved now from the theater to reel home movies, the VCR, DVD, and streaming platforms like we have today. We've been enjoying movies on big and small screens. So drive-in movies invited us to enjoy films from the comfort of our cars. And today our video library is as large as we want it to be, thanks to all those streaming platforms. Now we can even enjoy movies in our own backyards, projected onto screens with, and under the stars. Hello, ladies. Who is a movie person here?
I am.
I stayed up.
I
was just telling
a
Uti.
movie person.
So these days, once I get home, I just pick up maybe like a snack, usually mangoes, because I love mangoes. And I just sit down. I finish. I'll just look for the one that is not too long. So last night I watched Hustle on Netflix. Beautiful movie. Very beautiful movie. It was about the basket. I mean, it's a story from nothing, from grass to grace, But he was so talented, But the part about the talent is not enough because he had to discipline himself.
Yeah, talent
is not enough. So I was really. You should watch that movie if you have the time. Hustle.
I will.
Yeah, Adam Sandler. What's her name? Queen Latifah. Yeah.
And
the whole.
It was a good movie.
Yeah.
I think
all the NBA
it's
stars.
old, right?
No, it's a new movie on Netflix. Yeah, very
This
lovely
is
movie.
Adam
Another
Sandler.
one that I know is very nice. Everybody's talking about now is Miss Sloan or something like that. Sloan, yeah, Miss
Sloan is
Sloan.
old, but old, yeah. But it's a good movie.
But
as
it's
well.
a good
Well,
one.
I guess I can see why Sloan would be trending at this point in time because she's a lobbyist, so political.
Oh
moves,
yeah, so it's moving,
moves
it's
and
making
moves.
waves.
But yeah, Sloan is a good movie as well.
Okay.
But yeah, Hustle is.
I'll jump in.
Also,
Awesome movie, and it's actually better if you.
So what's the one you recommended again?
I can't remember if it's 12 Angry Men or 12 Mighty Men, but I think it's.
I'm going to look for 12 something
12,
men.
yeah. So it's actually a true story
Yeah.
about 12 orphans, but it's not basketball, it's American football. But also a
awesome.
very
I'm
good
going to
movie.
watch that tonight. So we can do virtual watching. Just connect, snap popcorn, put it on status. We'll know that we are connected.
I've actually done a virtual movie night before. So Customer Service Week 2021. No, sorry, 2020. Yes, 2020. So after COVID, October. On the final day of the week, on the Friday, we actually closed out with the movie night. And funny enough, we watched the sports movie as well, We Are Marshall. But we did it, the whole company, we screened it, and yeah, everybody logged in from wherever they were at home.
Oh,
We did a virtual movie
That's
night.
nice.
It's doable. We can have a
Absolutely.
ways virtual movie
Yeah,
night.
we can do
I
that.
can do that. All right, so who are we starting with? Uti, your story.
Okay, so I tried to go for something, I wouldn't say unusual, but interesting, given that we're talking about entrepreneurship today. My headline says, Nigerians beat CBN restrictions and trade 78 billion naira in Bitcoin in the first 3 months of the year. So, of course, we all know that in February of 2021, the federal, the federal government, the CBN banned the trade in cryptocurrencies, but we then find that come 2022, in the first quarter from January to March, there's been a 5.71% increase from the 73.4 billion naira of last year, same period last year, to the 78 billion that 77 billion, it's almost 78 billion, 77.75 billion that we have traded this year. And interestingly enough, I don't even believe that these are the full numbers. So these numbers are being reported from just one platform called Paxful, which is a major peer-to-peer currency trading platform. And Nigeria is their biggest market. And even though, we have grown 5.71%, the global trade on the platform actually grew by 8.33%. Bitcoin has been everywhere. I remember, I think it was end of 2019. Or was it even 20? No, it wasn't 2019. I think it was 2020, where Bitcoin seemed to have skyrocketed through the roof, and it was going for crazy amounts of money. And I remember being shocked when CBN banned it because it just felt like this is the new frontier, right? We're talking, NFTs, all sorts of things are happening in that space. Digital is the future. So eventually, even though the monetary systems are slow, it's almost clear to see that this type of currency is not going anywhere anytime soon. And with Nigerians, where there's a will, there's a way. We find a way. Something can be profitable and you can make money, and then we will find a way. So clearly, to the tune of 78 billion naira,
That's a lot.
we have found a way.
That's a lot of money.
Okay. Money.
All right. Workers narrowly escape death as 5-story building collapses in Ebonyi State. Yes, in the Federal Republic of Nigeria, there are building codes and regulations that builders, building contractors and engineers must comply with, which will drastically reduce the rate of the buildings-related accidents if adhered to, but most people prefer to circumvent this. Sorry, I read something else. Several workers luckily escaped death when a 5-story building under construction collapsed in Abakaliki, the Ebonyi state capital. According to sources, the building located at Babo Presco campus of Ebonyi State collapsed at about 2 p.m. on Tuesday, June the 7th. Spokespersons of the state police command said that no casualty was recorded. So a member of the community said that laborers working at the site ran out when the building started vibrating and eventually collapsed. Meanwhile, the government officials have inspected the collapsed building in order to ascertain the cause of the incident. So I think there are a lot of people to, hold responsible. We're lucky there were no casualties here. But this collapse is coming months after this major high-rise collapse in Lagos. And still, these things are going on. I think it's actually not making sense because the government actually have professionals who are supposed to be checking these things and making sure that they're building with the right materials, using the right skilled laborers to do it. But nothing is still being done, and people can die in the process of having this kind of thing happen. I think it's crazy anyways. 5-story building.
Oh.
It's not making sense.
Let's just be thankful
that nobody died, yeah.
But I think they should still penalize someone.
No, of definitely. Course. I think the builders, I think the government officials as well, who are supposed to be checking
who are supposed to monitor.
Yes.
Because there's supposed to be a monitoring team
exactly.
to check for integrity tests and all of that. So even though we are grateful to God nobody died, but somebody should actually...
Yes, because people could have died, and it happened in the afternoon at 2 p.m. And they were actually workers inside, but when they heard the building
vibration, everybody just scampered out. Not once beaten.
Yeah.
All right. So while speaking on at an event organized by the Nigerian Institute of Estate Surveyor Valuers, the chairman of the Economic Financial Crimes Commission, Abdul Rashid Bauer, said that real estates are safe havens, right, for money launderers. So he said this, that that they discovered about last month that a retired civil servant had just completed a university in Kaduna State. He built a full university, and the fact is that nobody even reported that transaction even happened. Even amongst the real estate world, nobody knew that thing happened. They only uncovered that. So he says, I made bold to say that this real estate sector is one of the easiest places for money launderers. That's why we are empowering there's an act, I think, that is backed by law for them to be able to prosecute, what's it called, defaulters. So he's urging this body, that's the Nigerian Institute of Estate Surveyors and Valuers, to partner with the Financial Crimes Commission so that they can weed off, all the bad eggs.
What kind of defaulters are we looking at right now?
Is it?
What kind of defaulters?
So, for instance, transactions like this, right?
Yeah.
For instance, somebody would build a whole university.
And nobody would see money pass through.
Nobody would see money. Jonathan, nobody knows anything. You just, boom, there's a university somewhere. How did a retired civil servant get funds to be able to build that?
Yeah,
so that's why he's saying that.
What the real estate authorities, what are they supposed to do? How are they
so
supposed
that's
to know
why.
whether people pay?
There is supposed to be a body money. You can't. You are a lawyer.
Yes,
I know. That's why. So every real estate company right now in Nigeria should be under a particular body that monitors all their transactions.
So the question man is asking is, even if they're under a body. So here's the thing, right? We've put in so many things in place to be able to track money. There's BVN, there's this, there's that. The fact is, monies are getting moved around. And I see where he's coming from, because I think I've said it many times on the show. It is in Nigeria that somebody will tell you they paid 200 million cash for a house.
Yes.
We were just talking about Bobrisky today, 450 million that he was bragging that he paid for a house. Where'd you get that kind of money? So the fact is, there are certain transactions that should raise flags in the financial system. When
if
you are
it actually passes through the financial
well,
system.
so that's what I'm saying. So, I mean, you're not going to move 200 million in cash. Most of these houses are... Wait, hold on. Calm down. Calm down. What I'm trying to say is, no, hold on. So, the volume of houses and things that are being sold, they're not all being sold, they're not cash transactions, right? But when you see these monies moving around, what's the point of having BVN? What's the point of having all of this infrastructure to track money, and you still can't do anything about it?
I think what he's saying here is the EFCC actually track. So if you move money above a certain amount, I think it's 99 million, they will know, they will track the money. So this money is not being moved inside the bank.
At all.
So
it's cash.
It's backdoor channel.
Whether it is backdoor channels, look, how many times have we had, you drive down the road now, you see real estate banners everywhere. Is everybody slinging around cash?
Well, me, I just want to say that I'm happy that they are narrowing, because you see, I keep on saying that if you follow the way real estate they are going, nobody that is earning a decent salary will be able to buy a house.
And should I tell you something? What did they say? They said an employee, government.
Is retired civil servant.
Do you know if he's buying this or building this university for one of your politicians?
That's what we are saying. Now, they're the same grammar, me and you.
Yeah.
You understand? So my own is that I am happy that this is happening, because my friend had told me that there was an estate in Abuja where a politician just came and bought a whole street. You understand? So automatically the prices that they fix for some of these houses is ridiculous. Because if you check the indices that makes the property to go up, we don't have those infrastructures.
Right.
This excess money being pumped in this sector is making life difficult for people,
most people
that can afford to buy a decent
in a
home.
country that has a housing
because
problem.
they need
that has a
to
housing problem.
sneak this money in, they just take the prices.
They just increase the price anyhow. So I am happy. I don't. Please.
I'm happy.
I
I just hope they.
I think that
this.
it's just important that we look at the problems in the right way. So first of all, what we are missing. One of the key things that we're first of all missing in Nigeria, because we have all sorts of people, developers building houses everywhere. Your building just collapsed.
Yeah.
The reality is, you may not be able to. Yes, you can track the money on one end, but even from the houses, you have to put processes in place that stop people from calling any price they want for a house. So, for example, if you build a house, right, there are margins by which you cannot exceed. So, if you spend 100 million, for example, on a house, and the rules say that your margin cannot exceed 20%, then you can't sell the house for more than 120 million. We don't have that today.
Yeah.
The person building the house can decide that their margin must be 50%, and they will sell the house for 150. And if they find a buyer, they will sell it.
They will sell for 200.
Exactly.
What are you saying?
So the fact is, that's part of what's driving the problem. So it is, remember what we were talking about, having institutions in place. We have to have processes in place that at least start to clamp these things down, so that the prices of these houses are controlled as much as they can be, because again, FX goes up, everything goes up. The cost of land in itself goes up exponentially,
as can be.
but we're controlling. So it's putting measures in place to fight it. We won't always get it right 100%. We won't catch everybody, but we should.
We have overshot our time. Let's discuss entrepreneurship. But I like what is happening. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Bookie November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Thanks for staying with us now. According to a Biz Community publication, despite Africa's impressive growth in the past 25 years, its entry into digital economy, the job market continues to be in a depressed state as youth unemployment continues to rise. Now, Africa has the largest population of young people in the world, some 200 million aged between 15 and 24, accounting for 60% of all of Africa's jobless. Now, this is alarming to say the least because youth employment could drive economic growth in Africa if we invest in them. Now, the question is, what steps can we take to address Africa's needs, a way out of poverty, and entrepreneurship may be the key. It has a potential to create millions of jobs in Africa, and youth entrepreneurs may bring about the positive change we urgently need. And although more and more youth are looking into entrepreneurship, there are many challenges facing the sector, like the lack of access to information, finance, networking, and mentoring, and just to mention a few. So what are some of the challenges you think young entrepreneurs are facing in Africa? Let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-8038-4663. You can also tweet at us at Wayshow Africa1 with the hashtag Wayshow. So I'll bring in Sandra in a minute, but I just wanted to hear your thoughts, Uti and Manny. Manny, we've removed you from the bracket of young entrepreneurs.
Are you joking?
You're now,
are you joking?
You're now a grandma entrepreneur.
Okay, well, yeah.
At 12 years,
I
come
12
on.
years is not, it's
not a joke.
Thing. Yeah, it's not a joke. So these young entrepreneurs, they face a lot in this market, ranging from lack of capital, startup capital, because who's going to invest in a small company? You have a vision, doesn't mean that it's going to, end up well. Some people don't know how to take things from vision stage to execution success phase. So people have issues trying to, invest in all this. And we do not have enough venture capital companies in Nigeria. So you have a lot abroad. But here, how many venture capital companies do we have? Yes, then we have issues with enabling environment and government policies. So you do one thing, like now, look at what's going on with Okada. They've crushed a lot of people's monies. You understand? Today they say it's okay to do this. Tomorrow a policy comes out that overtakes that and makes it very difficult.
Policies.
Yes, so it makes it very difficult. Then we have their age barriers, So these people, like our president said some years ago, said they're lazy youths. So when we look at them now, we think, why should I invest in this? Because their ways are different from our ways. Like you said, and
their thoughts.
Their thoughts are not our thoughts. So you don't even understand them. Sometimes there's this loss of communication, or things are lost in translation because of the age barrier, stereotypes. Then for me, the main one is I think that most of them go into these businesses with the wrong, would I say, notion? They are wrong
expectations.
Wrong expectation. They go in for the wrong reasons. They'll tell you they want to be their own bosses. They're tired of working under somebody. They want to close early. They want to go home early. Or they want to take pictures and post on social media and put boss chick or boss. So there are a lot of things that they would definitely encounter that will make businesses very difficult for them.
Well, okay, let me hear your thoughts, Uti, quickly.
Manny has said it all.
Really?
I mean, it's an interesting time to try. When you were introducing the topic, it said entrepreneurship may be the way. It really is the way. We just have too many people. The government can't do it all.
Sure.
Entrepreneurs really, that SME space, given the type of population and the makeup of our population, it really is the answer for, getting our economy to thrive. And for me, I think about the industries that have really embraced that, and we see the growth in the fashion industry, we see the growth in the food industry, we see the growth in the tech space. I mean, it seems like every day you blink now, there's a new fintech, there's a new company coming up.
Absolutely.
So there's really a lot that can be done when we harness I don't know if I should call it the energy of youth or the optimism of youth, even though they say Nigeria crushes dreams, but it really is important for us to understand how important entrepreneurship is, and that whole element of job creation, of wealth creation. The more we can get young people in that space, the better. But I think Manny did a fantastic job in articulating the challenges. I remember think it was one of my first shows, and our guest said doing business in Nigeria is an extreme sport.
Yeah.
It's a very, very extreme sport.
I believe that.
You're here today, gone tomorrow, and we're not even talking about making it to the first 5 years. Nigeria can literally wipe you out overnight. So, yeah, I think it's, if the youth that are doing it today, kudos to them, man. Absolutely.
Let me bring somebody that Nigeria has not wiped out overnight. So Sandra Chuku is the CEO and the founder of Sulfur Energy, a Nigerian-based leading technology-enabled renewable energy company that provides standalone solar home systems to homes and businesses in off-grid areas in Africa. In 2017, Sandra launched a range of entry-level solar home systems to make solar affordable and inclusive to those at the bottom of the pyramid. Now, the company has introduced larger solar home systems to help Africans leverage solar for productive and income-generating use. In 2022, Sandra was featured in Forbes 30 Under 30 in the energy category, and we're really honored to host her again, because it's her second time on Ways, tonight on the show. Thank you so much, and congratulations. You know, it's one thing for you to do a business, it's another thing for the world to recognize that this is someone doing something great, you know. Your vision is, I mean, I like what Manny was saying, that yes, it's one thing for you to have a vision. Execution is a whole ball game entirely.
Absolutely.
So for you to be in that position where your business continues to take center stage, where people recognize your business and investors are willing to put their money in your business, which is how far what you have also leveraged on over the years. It tells me something that you're doing right, and you know, and being under 30 again, come on, what a way to live. But tell me first of all, how does it feel, you know, to be on the Forbes list? Let's start from there. Then before we now break it into the challenges.
I'm still taking this in. I mean, this was just last week Friday that it was announced, so I'm still taking it in. But honestly, it's an honor and it's a big win, not just for me, but for my team. You know, the alphas that I call them, who are my team members, who are the ones on the ground, who are making things move, and also my investors as well, those who actually putting money into Sulfur Energy. It just feels so overwhelming to know that an African company, Nigerian-owned company, can reach this milestone. So I just feel really grateful and excited for the future.
I'm loving you already. You know how CEOs speak? But I'm telling you, no. So there's something that makes every person stand out when it comes to businesses, right? And entrepreneurs, as an entrepreneur, if you have it, you have it. If you don't have it, you don't have it. You know, it will be a struggle for you to be able to sustain that business, right? So tell me, first of all, you know, you have run this business for how many years now?
5 years.
5 years now, right? You're young, right? There are always, you know, challenges, right? But you have been able to, you know, even with the challenges, you've been able to rise above those challenges and still push your business to where it is today, you know, and it's still growing. First of all, explain those challenges, you know, as a young woman, because you're young, you're a woman, and you are, would I call it a predominantly male-dominated field, right? Because the energy business, not many women delve into energy business in this country. A lot of men do the business, but women don't, you know. So maybe you should break down what the challenges have been for you as a business, as a young person, as an entrepreneur, you know, again, in Nigeria. That's a double whammy.
So I think what she said actually resonated with me so strongly. The biggest challenges that I faced was, number one, raising finance, and number two, growing my team. And I really want to touch on raising finance because that's an important area where companies can be made or broken. And for me, right, in 2017, I had an idea for a business and I struggled to raise financing, and I had to literally bootstrap my business. I raised some small funding from family, and then I started, you know, bootstrapping this business. I started in Alaba and Idumota. We would distribute products to wholesalers that were there. But then it was just something that wasn't really supported because it's renewable energy, it's solar. So it's that whole thing of, we're not sure of this business that you're trying to push, therefore we won't invest in you. And what it meant for me, like other entrepreneurs, is the fact that you aren't able to put down proper procedures and processes. So you end up as a CEO being a one-man business. You are the HR, you are the accountants, you are the operations person, and that was what we were doing for a long period of time. And even when it came to having a proper business process and even tax reporting, it was a struggle because all the time that you can use to grow the company, you're using it in other areas of the business. So for me, right, that was one challenge. The second one was the team. How do you, first of all, assemble a team and get them to buy into a vision? Because it's one thing for you as a founder to know what exactly you want to do, but how do you aggregate different genders, different age groups, different tribes, and unite them under one mission? And the beauty of Salfa, my company, is the fact that our culture is about we. It's actually focused on Umoja. Umoja means unity, we stand. And that is something that I tried so hard to ingrain in my team. And I feel that with that early adoption of unity, working as a team, and just, breaking through with the barriers we had with financing, it actually helped us on the way to really grow that business. But it wasn't easy at all, lots of trials, but I'm just grateful that we're here now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So interesting that you guys talked about culture last week Friday. Well,
yeah.
I'll come to you.
Yeah.
When she just said culture, see, it's something that if you get it, you understand it. Culture, there has to be a culture that, the company is known for. Go ahead.
It's the foundation of everything.
Yeah.
So interesting, the energy space. When you were talking about challenges, the first thing that came to mind when I saw your profile was we're diesel, we're a generator, we're used to generating our own power, but we're used to doing it in a certain way.
Absolutely.
So what challenges have you faced on that side of things? You touched on it lightly about, even access to market and people not supporting that. I know that we've come a long way. It seems like today there's solar panels everywhere, but interesting to know what kind of challenges you faced in that space.
So interesting story, right? I grew up in an oil and gas family conglomerate, and the goal for me was, study, get some experience, and then come work in the family business. And I love that idea so much. And something interesting happened to me. After my master's degree in oil and gas management, I was fortunate to work at the United Nations in New York in 2015. And that was when the SDG goals were being launched. There was about, access to clean energy. So many goals were launched, about 17 of them. And what really struck me was the fact that energy was no more about oil and gas, fossil fuel. It was now about clean, affordable, sustainable energy. But it was also the consciousness, leaving no one behind, starting with the furthest behind first, giving them access. And I think for me as a young person, I really struggled to find meaning in what I did. Yes, it's a family legacy. You want to honor the family by doing that. But deep down, I really wanted something that would call me for a higher purpose. And so when I heard that, when I was exposed to the UN and that vision and that mission they had, it lit a fire in me. And then after some time, I resigned that job and I came back to Nigeria, and I was burning with this fire to, diversify my family conglomerate and, go into solar energy. And just like you said, we're used to oil, gas, diesel. I was met with resistance, right? Because the challenge is, this wasn't what we signed up for. We signed up for...
You need to go and study petrochemical engineering.
So what are you doing? And so that's why my road to solar was tough, because this is someone, people will see me and they was telling me, why are you struggling with solar kits and solar home systems? Your parents, what are you doing? And for years I always struggled with, am I doing the right thing? But just something in my heart just said to me that, this is, if you don't stand up for yourself, if you don't stand for something, you fall for everything. And so I just had to make a way. And my team are really fantastic. They've been so supportive. They're just young Nigerians who are energized, who really want to make a change. And that's what we're doing. We're just trying to make it work in this country, trying to fight, that's generational mindset that energy is oil and gas, that solar energy is not here to stay. Solar is here to stay. And guess what? Climate change is real. And that's what we're really fighting. That's why we're here.
Absolutely. All right, so let's quickly go in and out. I want to drink some water.
we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, they go beat you. Now 2,500 they pay.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need.
Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Thanks for staying with us. Now, if you're just tuning in, we're having an amazing chat discussing challenges young entrepreneurs face in Africa, and we have our guest, Sandra Chuku. All right, please let's hear what you have to say. Remember, you can join the conversation. Send us an SMS or WhatsApp to 081-803-4663. You can also tweet at us at Wayshow Africa1 with the hashtag Wayshow. I was gonna mix Sonia, Safa, all these in one name. But I mean, you have an interesting story. But Mani, you had a question?
Yes. So how do you deal with competition and finding clients? Because people tend to stick with
money for the money, straight up.
Straight up. Let's go there. So people tend to stick with well-known brands, brand names. So how do you navigate in that?
So to be able to, first of all, in our space, it's actually a blue ocean, meaning that there's so much, demand for this product and they haven't been addressed yet. And so with what we do, we find our own niche. You understand? Because the energy market is segmented into different tiers. You have those who don't even have access to lighting and phone charging. And you have those who, like this building, need access to powering devices and appliances and whatnot. So we focus on the furthest behind who lack access to energy. And what that has done is that it's given us like a differentiation. Do you get where I'm coming from? So we are not cannibalized by other competitors.
Literally, you don't have competitors.
We do, but because the market is so big, we are collaborators because whatever impact you make in a state or a region, it's a ripple effect. So far, so good. That is what the market is like.
Okay, sorry, let me ask a follow-up question.
Okay, please do.
Yes, you concentrate on the lowest in the market, right?
And we scale them up.
Okay, good. So the money that you get from there, is it enough to keep your business running?
Oh, absolutely. If we look at, those who are energy poor, I mean, 80 million Nigerians are energy poor, and the bulk of them live on less than $1 a day. You understand? So when you provide them solutions that are affordable for them, you unlock a big market, and that's what we've done, because you want to sell these products not only to customers, but you want to sell to distributors like those in Idumota, Alaba, Sabongeri, who can actually buy this product and make money off it by retailing, and then sales agents as well, installers. Exactly. So you want to be able to generate income for these different types of people, the sales agents, the distributors, the payment platforms, and through that means, you're making profits, you're generating income, and you're growing and scaling up.
Okay. I was going to ask. Okay, I was going to ask that. When you look at young entrepreneurs today, right, what do you think are the most common mistakes that you see happen to them, with businesses. You know, I mean, when I read the quotes today that talked about naivety being a blessing, you know, it's like, you know, because you're naive, you know, you think that everything is possible. That in itself can also be, right? So what do you think are the common mistakes that young people make when it comes to making business decisions and starting off as an entrepreneur?
Okay, so there's so many things, but I'll stick to two. So the first one is that people don't believe in themselves. And it's not because they don't want to, it's because sometimes they don't have people around them who can light the flame in their hearts. When you're around people who are limited by their own self-beliefs and they project that to you, your zeal for entrepreneurship to dare and to be audacious is dampened. The second is having a team. I can't stress enough how powerful a team is. One of my friends says 1 + 1 is 11. And I always believe in the power of we. The power of we is far stronger than the power of I, because with we, you can accomplish things that one person cannot. And that's the mistake people make. They have a team quite all right? But the issue is that there's this thing called ego, where you feel that you are the boss, you feel that you're the one that should know it, or you have this superiority complex. How are you able to, and guess what, your employees have that too, but how are you able to step aside that ego and know that you're on a journey to create something? Every company that you found, or any business that you have, is about the soul of that founder. What is your soul like? Before you're able to create that company, it's the soul, it is who you are, and it actually emanates to the company that you build. And for me, growing up, I just wanted to have a team, people who I could, you know, achieve something with and grow a company with. That was just my dream, to just have a happy place where we could all just be, in my childish mind, you know, inventors in a lab creating something. That was a dream that I had. And for me, it was about giving back to people, just loving people around you. And it's not just about you, it's about the people that are with you. So once more, people and believing in yourself, these two key things are important.
So I like that you talked about people. So
when the people start to leave.
I'm glad that you answered the question, and you had talked about the team before.
Yeah.
And when Manny was giving her first talk, she talked about generations. One of the things we talk about on this show a lot is Gen Z. Yeah. We are one of them. So, you know, when we cross-generational people try to manage Gen Zs, we lose hair or we go gray hair. So, in this team that you speak of, are they
like you?
No, wait. Are they within your generation? And if you do, what challenges do you face in managing a team? Because, you know, for me, I feel like I speak a different lingo from my team. So there's a bit of a hurdle there. But what is it like from that side? Do you face challenges? I know you've talked about the team being wonderful and all of that, but what do you face trying to manage that team? Are they the same generation as you, and then manage?
And you know, there's sorry, just to add to what she's saying, what Manny has said earlier, this your generation, everybody wants to be boss chick. Yeah. Hashtag boss chick.
So that's true. I'm living my best life.
Yeah.
Manny has been scarred.
Same.
Same. Yeah. Okay, tell us.
Yes. So for me, right, I have like it's a mixed generation. We have the boomers, millennials, Gen Z. So it's a mix, right? And earlier in my youth, I used to advocate for young people because I always felt like we were marginalized and we had to have our own seat at the table or make our own table. But as I get older, I realize the value of an intergenerational pool. Honestly. So, honestly, because it's good to have that mix because the young people have the zeal to really, like, you know, push and deliver, but the older heads have the wisdom. So when you combine it, you know, somebody's thinking, somebody's running, you have a team. But I have had my own fair share of Gen Z that story for another day.
Another day.
Well, you know what? You find Gen Zs are actually very important for any organization because they challenge status quo. For them, it's more like this culture doesn't suit me. On to the next. So you begin to ask yourself, how can I adapt for the future? How can I begin?
Refresh
Exactly.
And, you know, stay relevant.
Honestly,
absolutely
very important.
Yes.
Okay, so let's talk.
Go ahead.
Okay, what I would like to ask you, there's this thing they call social rejection. Because you're so busy. When you started talking, you talked about the challenges that entrepreneurs face, especially in the beginning of the business.
Yeah.
Your HR You're a lawyer. I'm sure you even
Everything.
started drafting
I'm telling
documents.
you.
You know, you're everything.
Yeah.
How did you manage with your social life? Because this is one of
Oh.
the challenges that these people face. They want to go to a party and they want to still do their business and make money. So how do you do that?
I think, I don't know, I'm a nerd. So,
So it doesn't affect you anyway.
so for me, right, I'm really like laser focused on any project or, you know, thing that I have to do. But I would say that you have to make a choice, right? You know, what do you really want to achieve? And I'm not saying that you can't have a social life, but I'm saying that something has to give. You understand?
Yeah.
In the earlier years, I was doing so much that I wasn't always out there, bubbly, social. But I think now, when you're able to have a team that can take up the load from you, you're able to just be more present. Before I wasn't speaking publicly. I was just, you know, refining the product, talking to customers, just, you know, doing the in-house work. But what I would say is just having a good team that can really execute, that just lifts the load off you as a founder. And I think with that, you're able to just express yourself more publicly. Now I'm really out there pushing my brand, and you know.
So we are going to invite you again. But we invited you for a party, you didn't come.
Hey,
so I can see why now. But I was going to ask, so how are you helping mentor younger people? Because there are young girls now that are going into the energy sector. I'm really proud of a lot of young people, you know, coming into that sector. So how are you positioning yourself, you know, to stand in, to be that, you know, okay, I have been through this and I don't want you to go through that stress. Let me cut short your wahala that you're going to face and all of that. Is there something that Sulfur Energy is doing, you know, as a mentorship program for younger people coming into the energy space?
So the biggest thing that we're doing is coming back to our team. Our team has an initiative called Alphas on the Move. And what we're trying to do is to bring in people into the energy sector and really begin to not only help them grow their talents or their skills, we want to disrupt their thinking. We want to create leaders of tomorrow. And how do we do that? We do that by ensuring that whoever comes into our team is able to scale up into leadership position. And we do that by exposing them to critical business areas. If you work in a corporate company, you sometimes are stuck at a particular cadre of the organogram, right? But what we try to do is that we have a flat structure where we push people to begin to assume these leadership positions. And with that, we found a lot of people who have gone from roles like sales officers to sales managers to regional managers to national managers. So we do that as a company. When it comes to initiatives outside of our employees, it's something that we are refining. And we look at that through the lens of how do we begin to look at, for example, the engineers who install our products. How can we bring in male and female to begin to understand how these products are installed, how they're being repaired, how they're being, you know, assembled and disassembled to ensure that we're actually localizing talent in Nigeria. And for me as a leader, it's important that now that, like I said earlier, I'm able to have more free time to really be public facing. I've been privileged to have a lot of people reach me on LinkedIn and they say, oh, wow, like I really want you to mentor me. And it's something that I myself am beginning to collate these kind of people and, you know, prepare something that actually helps them, inspires them to just be better and just stay focused, be motivated, and just know that they can actually achieve what they set their mind to achieve.
Awesome. Awesome.
That's good.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I love the passion with which you talk about your motivation, right?
Yeah.
Your motivation wasn't money. Your motivation
Yes.
was to solve the need
Yes.
and realizing. So I can imagine that pivotal experience for you when the SDG goals were being launched.
Oh, yes.
And, you know, how you could connect with that. And it really has shaped your life. Manny talked about something that I think was very key. Our young people want to hammer. They want to blow. And a lot of the time, I find that the push to go into entrepreneurship is driven by that, right? I believe, like you, that the most successful businesses are the businesses that are solving real problems for people.
Yeah.
You know, if you are there to serve, the money will follow.
Yeah.
So, do you feel like young people? Do you agree that young people today, the driver is money, and do you feel that that's a challenge for them in being able to attain the kind of success that you have, and maybe even more?
So let's be frank, right? I don't know if you're familiar with the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Money is the basic. Without money, you can't achieve most of your goals. So I think for anybody who hasn't gotten a certain level of material success, money is something, right? However, what you're talking about is being patient. Can you be patient to grow an idea, to scale the idea without wanting the now, to blow or hammer right now? And so for me, right, it's a big challenge that I feel that, yes, a young person should want to aspire to grow wealth. And even if you don't do it through entrepreneurship, how can a startup, a company begin to create wealth for its employees? We see lots of companies, myself included, beginning to think about ideas to, bring in people who are in the company, who have actually stayed a number of years, to begin to have equity in that business, to begin to have a way to have their own sort of income, that it's not just about a salary, but growing their wealth. And that's something we take very seriously as well in our company. How do we ensure that people are joining in year 1 and in year 5, they can comfortably say that they can not only earn an income, but they can take their children to school, they can have a home, the basics that make anybody.
Yes. So you're incentivizing the work, right?
Are we incentivizing? We're giving them what they deserve.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're giving them what they deserve. Everybody, if we compare America, compare Europe, that's what they have. They have mortgages, they take out a house, they buy a car. Why can't our companies do that for our young people? And that's part of what Salpa is doing.
Because even when you come out of the military, then, I don't know if they still do it now, they immediately give you a Peugeot car.
In Nigeria.
Yeah,
these are the basics that stabilizes a person.
That stabilizes you as a person.
You're asking if
so
they
you're
still
focused.
do it.
I don't know. I'm asking. I don't know. But it's the military now. I don't know. That's what it is. I'm asking it. Man, don't be sarcastic. And I was going to say, let's come back to Forbes, because we have like barely 2 minutes to go. Okay. So are you under a lot of pressure now to like outperform? Because Forbes comes with pressure. It's a prayer to mayor. There's a pressure that comes with, when you start to get to those levels of recognition. So how are you managing that? And, is it putting you under any form of tension to, outperform, do better, and all of that?
Oh, I love pressure. Pressure is good because pressure is what takes you from point A to B. How do you make diamonds? They go through fire. That's what we want. We want to be a global company. So we need all pressure. We need to be able to challenge ourselves to dream bigger. Before Forbes came, right, it was, we were dreaming really big, but Forbes made us just, the ceiling just broke. It's like we can actually be anything we want to be. Wow. So the energy is just like really fiery. It's like, let's shoot for the stars, let's hire more people, let's begin to bring in more products. So that's what we are. We're excited. Pressure us, we want that.
So you're an egg. You get harder with pressure. Yes. So let me one final thing from me. If you were to speak to the government now, we know that airplanes, they need a runway to run before they take off. So if the government could help young entrepreneurs right now, what would you say? What's the first thing you would ask for?
The government?
Yes, the government.
We have policies. I would want those policies to be implemented. We have a lot of policies that help the ease of doing business. How are we implementing those policies so that young people can take advantage of it? We have a brain drain in this country. Our talents are leaving for Canada, Europe, America. What are we doing to solve those issues? How can we ensure that, for example, the ease of doing business in Nigeria, that we're actually elevating this country? And it's to the point, it's just, implementing our policies and putting the right list in the right place.
Yeah,
that's what I would say.
Enabling environment.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So it's been fantastic speaking to you.
Thank you.
My ladies, I hope you had fun like I did.
Yes.
Because she has transferred the energy to me. Well, I hope you come back again. We'll keep on celebrating you. Don't worry. It's our duty to keep on pushing all the brands, all the young people, women, in fact, that are doing exceptionally well. It's our honor to continue to project, the great work you're doing, and we know that it's going to get bigger and better from here. All right, thank you so much, Manny. Thank you, Uti. Thank you so much again, Sandra. Now, before we go, do ensure you follow us on Instagrams at Wayshow Africa. You can interact with us further, drop a comment, and more importantly, follow all our engagements on social media. Like, share, and invite your families and friends to watch and follow the conversation. Now, if you missed today's quote, I like this quote very much. It just helps me think of possibilities everywhere. I think I was very naive early on, but that also meant I didn't know what couldn't be done. You need to think possibility. And she said it, first of all, it's your mindset, right? We'll see you guys live on Monday as we bring another great conversation to your screen. Enjoy.
Thank you. Bye.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the Babin, I pay my rent. From the Babin, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
It for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
On The Breakfast, Nigerian politics takes place within a framework. 23 years after, we take a look at the system and what has transpired so far. Also on The Breakfast, the governorship elections in Ekiti State is scheduled for June the 18th. Little over a week from now, the people of the state will elect a successor to Governor Kayode Fayemi. We take a look at the speech of the candidate, their competence, as well as their intention. Don't forget, we would also be looking through the papers, as always, analyzing the biggest stories of the day. Welcome to The Breakfast on Plus TV Africa. I am Messia Bopo. It's a beautiful Monday morning, a happy Democracy Day. Well, we start off a top trending conversation, as always, with conversations that are generating different reactions in different spaces. And so first on the list this morning is the president's speech. You like to say Buhari's democracy speech. Let's take a listen. We'll be right back.
Today, June the 12th, marks another Democracy Day anniversary and an occasion to celebrate freedom and unity of our nation. From 1999, we consistently celebrated Democracy Day to mark the end of military rule and the return of power and control into the hands of those freely elected by the people. This is my last Democracy Day speech as your president. By June 12, 2023, exactly 1 year from today, you will already have a new president. I remain committed and determined to ensure that the new president is elected through a peaceful and transparent process. The signs so far are positive. Recently, all registered political parties conducted primaries to select their candidates for the 2023 general elections. These primaries were peaceful and orderly. Those who won were magnanimous in their victories. Those who lost were gracious in defeat. And those aggrieved opted to seek judicial justice as opposed to jungle justice. I will therefore take this opportunity on this very special day to ask all candidates to continue running issue-focused campaigns and to treat opponents with dignity. As leaders, you must all showcase high character and never forget that the world is watching us and Africa looks up to Nigeria to provide example in governance. The tone you set at the top will surely be replicated in your followers. For the voters, I am pleased to inform you that in the last 7 years, our government across all tiers has made significant investments to reform and enhance our electoral laws, systems, and processes to safeguard your votes. The executive, legislature, and judiciary were and still remain united and committed to ensure those reforms are fully implemented in the 2023 general elections.
Welcome back to The Breakfast. Of course, that was the president's speech, Democracy Day, if you like to say. That has not really sat well with a lot of Nigerians. And some people have not been impressed with the speech of Mr. President talking about, Democracy Day. Some people think the speech is empty. Others are saying that it's a repetition every other time. And others are saying, hey, there's really nothing there to talk about. But, the big question would always be, if we look at the tenet of democracy, how far have we fared so far in terms of all of the issues that, democracy would stand for? So you want to begin to look at the issue of freedom of assembly and association. And some people would say, what happened on the 20th of October? What happened? Freedom of association. We remember the situation that happened right here in Lagos where, there was a massacre. According to the report that was confirmed by the panel that was set up, property rights, there's a lot. And a lot of Nigerians quite disappointed with the speech of Mr. President saying it does not, nothing really reflects the tenet and, you know, the principles and belief of democracy. And as such, is a total waste of time. But however it is, the cases, they are no absolute. They're just relative. Progress it is that we're making, very nascent, and I'm sure that we will definitely get there. Away from the president's speech, let's also take a look at a recent movement. Now, if you follow the Nigerian politics, then you will be very sure that the issue of political apathy is on top of the list. Now, it feels like 2023 is going to be very different because there's been a recent movement. Some people would like to call it a revival. Others are saying this is the revolution. No PVC, no church. We'll take a track now. When we come back, we'll continue more with the conversation.
Carry your PVC. If you don't have your PVC, don't bother coming. Because there is no point having Christians fill the church. But during election, we have only a handful of them go out to vote. So it means our number, our population means nothing. So we want Christians to take their responsibility and their role seriously. So today, I am serious about it. As I'm standing here, if you have your PVC, begin to come in. But if you don't have your PVC, find your way back home. You will not attend mass here today. Is that clear? Yes. Those with your PVC, oh yeah, begin to come in. Oh yeah. Those who don't have their PVC, you begin to go back. I'm serious about it. What we'll do is, from today, if you are coming for mass, carry your PVC. If you don't have your PVC, don't bother coming. Because there is no point having Christians fill the church. But during election, we have only a handful of them go out to vote. So it means our number, our population means nothing. So we want Christians to take their responsibility and their role seriously. So today, I am serious about it. As I'm standing here, if you have your PVC, begin to come in. But if you don't have your PVC, find your way back home. You will not attend mass here today. Is that clear? Yes. Those with your PVC, oh yeah, begin to come in. Oh yeah. Those who don't have their PVC, you begin to go back. I'm serious about it.
Well, I find that very funny, comical if you ask me. But like I mentioned, it's something that's going on. It feels like some people have described this a movement of, you know, the PVC. But you need to also, you know, read the comment and see the reaction and hear the conversation of Nigerians across the entire country. It's something that we have not seen before. But in all of this, the question is, in the course of asking that people get their PVC, which is very important because according to the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you have a right to vote and be voted for. And so it is within a right. But some people are also questioning the fact that, is it also compulsory to vote because it's a choice? Now, in other climes like Australia, it is actually a crime not to vote. But I'm not sure that in our country or our polity, it is actually a crime, you know, not to vote. Are there laws that would say that it's a crime not to vote? Because, hey, at the end of the day, we're talking about rights of individual. But you see, everyone also have a right to a peaceful assembly. And that's what the Constitution talks about. And that's why it is always very disheartening when people talk about protesting government policies across and then having protests and then you have some anti-protest element. At some point, people say these persons are really from the government, trying to stop the people, because everyone has a right to a peaceful assembly. So what should be the approach? Yes, we understand that it's important that everyone become part of the election process, become part of democracy, because if you look at the concept of democracy, it has to do with the people. And so participation of citizens is very critical as one of the elements of a democratic process and system. And so, yes, it's fine that there's a movement that's asking for it. But on the other hand, are we also depriving people and the citizens from also having a right to a peaceful assembly? We need to think about it. Two wrongs can never make a right. But hey, the encouragement and sensitization should continue, because it's important that you get your PVC. It's important that you cast your vote, because you have a right to vote and be voted for. And if you do not have a PVC, how then do you cast your vote? And what right do you have to criticize any government if you're not part of the process? And that's it. Let's move away from that. Still with the issue of vote and 2023. So you also have the youths saying, hey, we're taking this back. There's been a lot of consent. I mean, we have a lot of our celebrities who have come out together, they've gathered and they've organized concerts. And they're saying the concert at the end of the day is to encourage the young people across, because there seemed to be a perception, not necessarily seeming to be, but there is a perception that votes don't count. And that's because there's a deficit, trust deficit in the system. The people have lost trust in the entire electoral process. And if you move around, I engage with the people from time to time, and then you get to hear people say, oh, it doesn't really matter. Our votes will never count. I mean, who cares? They already know who would become the process. What's the essence of going out to vote? And this has constantly contributed. But it feels like it's different because you have the likes of Waje, Fowles, among other celebrities. I mean, people coming together, influencers saying, hey, young people of Nigeria, your vote will count. The concept and the ideology that your votes never count is a delusion. And that's why you have this concert. Also, very interesting is the fact that, the chairman of the umpire, we're talking about INEC right now, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, has also assured Nigerians that their vote will count and they're doing everything possible. It probably just feels like this might just be the right time to be a Nigerian. And as he has assured the youth and Nigerians across, saying that we would have a free and fair election. The president has also assured that there will be a free and transparent election come 2023. Absolutely great. But we'll take a listen to this. When we come back, we'll continue with the conversation.
But I have... That's correct. Thank you. We had you loudly and clearly. I have two requests. I want to make, just listen to me. I listen to you. I listen to you very clearly. I have two requests. When you collect your PVCs, please go and vote. Will you vote? Will you vote? Vote, not what? Not fight. Vote, not what? Okay, finally for me, let me assure and reassure you that votes will count. Your votes will count. Your votes will count. I want to thank you all. Thank you.
I mean, that's the umpire, the chairman of the umpire, encouraging and assuring the young people that were gathered for this concert, saying that their vote will count. And I think that this is a time that we all have been waiting for, constant engagement. It's a process, and I think that gradually we're getting there. The feedback. Of course, there's also been calls that you have an extension for the voter registration, and that is it. But it's important, if you haven't gotten your PVC, at this moment, it's important that you look out for the nearest location and get your PVC, and also get ready to vote. Cast your vote ahead of come 2023, because it is your right. You have a right to vote, to cast your vote. Now, if you're not even vying for a political office, but you also have a right to vie. And so don't neglect your right, because you do have that right. And that's the much we can take this morning on our top trending conversation. We will return tomorrow with more interesting conversations that are generating reactions in different quarters. Stay with us. When we return, it'll be time for us to be looking through the front pages of our national dailies. We call it Off the Press. Now, great analysis coming your way, because we have Opunabon Kataria, who joins the conversation. Good morning.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region
from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamode Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamode Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
What's up, guys? You're welcome to another edition of Plus Event, and I remain your host, Ifeoluwa Oshukeye. Your absence isn't an excuse anymore, as Plus Event is all you need, as we bring you the glitz, the glamour, and loads of fun.
Oh, definitely. Like, no question. He's a living legend.
Oh, God forbid, Holy Ghost fire, I know.
I just want to be blown away. I want to be wild. This is 11 years of doing it.
I'm surrounded by so much positivity. No, it's okay.
Yo, what's up, my people? It's your boy Starboy Terry. You're watching
Plus Event on Plus TV.
Stay glued to Plus TV Africa every Saturday and Sunday, 4:30 p.m. West African time.
This is it for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus Politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
Businesses in Africa can be very challenging. In Nigeria, it is particularly intimidating. And successful builders have learned how to navigate a hostile environment to unlock opportunities. But one major challenge businesses face is how to filter through the noise and identify where their ideal customers exist. Get insight and practical steps from industry players and captains of industries. Hear success stories to help you make informed decisions as you scale your business in Nigeria. Watch Business Insights at this time on Plus TV Africa.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment, and another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
It's the breakfast in Plus TV Africa. It's time where we look at the pages of our dailies. We call it Off the Press. Okunabo Nkotaria joins the conversation as a public affairs analyst, as always, on Mondays. He joins via phone. It's good to have you join us this morning.
Good morning, Messi. It's my pleasure. Good morning, dear.
All right. Happy belated Independence Day celebration.
I wish you so, my dear.
All right, then let's start off with the Leadership newspaper this morning. And looking at it, you have very interesting headlines on the Leadership. The bold caption says, as Buhari's administration winds down in 11 months, Nigeria still grapples with terrorism, kidnappings, and killings. Underneath, 913 killed, 265 abducted in 421 attacks last month. This according to a report. Now, 30 wedding guests kidnapped in Sokoto, 11 killed in Benue. You also have another rider saying, Southwest governors revisit state pleas to strengthen Amoteku. We have done a lot to tackle challenges. This is according to, the Defense Ministry. However, we'll move away from that. Ekiti 2022, IGP deploys DIG, 4 AIGs and 4 helicopters. Now, the question has always been, why do we constantly militarize our elections? Don't pay lip service to credible election, PDP replies President Muhammadu Buhari after that speech. New health insurance expert falls 300 naira monthly per enrollee. Nigeria's democracy is growing. The Vice President Yemi Osinbajo was quoted on that. And Serap asks flag bearers to publish asset, reject vote buying because you have the consequence for buying and selling of votes at the end. Bakari congratulates Tinubu candidates, disown viral manifesto. I mean, these are some of the headlines on the Leadership newspaper this morning. Away from the Leadership newspaper, we quickly take a look at the Daily Independent. Now on the Daily Independent, Nigerian Air stakeholders query identity of 95 investors and directors. That's quite interesting. Deployment of UTA's condition for suspending strike. This is what AS is saying. So AS is saying, hey, it's not about XYZ, but we're talking about the mode of payment, which is UTA's. Let's see how all of that pans out. That's the bold caption this morning. Bandits abduct 50 wedding guests along Sokoto-Zamfara Highway. This is according to a report. We averted catastrophic accident or incident in Abuja, Kano last week. Military chief is saying, or massacre, poor turnouts greets churches as St. Francis Catholic Church remains short. What you expect? One, Saraki Obi, Sanwo-Olu, Uzodinma asks Nigerians to keep faith in democracy and country. I will carry PDP stakeholders along in choosing my running mate. Atiku is quoted on that. You also have politicians mulling Muslim tickets, inviting cures. Khan warns this is time to strengthen democracy, social cohesion. The vice president is also quoted to say that. I remain AFN national president pending an appeal. Ibrahim is also reporting on that one, but we'll move away from the Daily Independent. Let's quickly take a look at the Punch. Now, on the Punch, APC may unveil Tinubu's running mate Wednesday. Party focuses on Northeast. Party warned over Muslim ticket. Majority leader says no cost for alarm. Vice president should come from the Northeast. Governors focusing on the zone. You also have APC may concede the Senate president to the Southeast and Speaker to the Northwest. Federal government borrowings from CBN hits 19 trillion naira. Inflation may worsen. Oh. You also have Democracy Day. Governors demand credible elections. OPC Don cries feeding bottle federalism. That's what you find. The writers are not quite clear, but we'll just move on to other headlines on the Punch just before we move away from the Punch newspaper. Kaduna Rivers 30 orders attract zero foreign investment in first quarter. I'm sure you want to find out why that is. Federal government was wrong to shut Nigerian borders. Deputy President Freight Forwarders is quoted on that. Federal government meets ASU today, SANU on Friday, and ASU is saying the only reason the strike will be suspended if the government agrees to the payment system, which is called the UTAS. The government has said, it's fraudulent system. On the other hand, INEC is saying the AS system is also fraudulent. But whose report do we believe? Away from that, contributory pension gains 640 billion naira in 4 months, hits 14 trillion naira. And federal government invests 379.6 billion in 23 state erosion control. Blackout worsens as grid collapses the 5th time in 2022. You have more interesting headlines, but for the want of time, we'll just move away from the Punch and let's quickly take a look at the Nation newspaper this morning. On the Nation, Southwest governors draw battle plan against terrorists. And our church killings ignite action. 3 days mourning for our victims. Okada riders influx to be curtailed. That's what you find. Another one says, Supreme Court justice deployed poor service conditions. Gunmen kill 11 in Benway community. 50 abducted in Sokoto. And Democracy Day, you find, we have made progress, says federal government. 4th anniversary marked in Abuja and states. Tinubu campaign organization disowns fake manifesto. Umahi under fire for attacking Ohaneze President Obiazor. And you also find states to share World Bank's 750 million naira facility. Constantly the question has been put, why do we what are we always about sharing? What are we bringing to the table? Well, that's the much we can take this morning on the papers. Let's head over to Openabon Kataria, who joins us via phone this morning to share his thoughts on the headlines. Openabon Kataria, it's good to have you join us once again.
Yes, my pleasure, Messi.
Let's start off with the papers now. I'd like to leave it open to you. Which of the headlines interest you as I went through the pages of the national dailies?
Well, they're all interesting, so we can start with any one of the choice.
So go ahead.
Let me see the papers, please, on the screen.
Okay, so let's start off with the leadership now. Now that you've handed the ball back to me. As Buhari's administration winds down in 11 months, reports are saying that Nigeria is still grappling with terrorism, kidnappings, and killings. Do you agree with this assertion?
I mean, that's irrefragable. In other words, I think you can't controvert that fact. On a daily basis, we hear of kidnappings, killings, terrorism all over the country. I mean, it's been contemporized by the media as well, because you don't have a choice. You have to, the media reflects the society. So when these things happen, you just have to report them. No doubt the government is being overwhelmed by these terrorists who on daily basis wreak havoc on Nigeria and Nigerians as a big barbecue of Nigerians, you know. We just heard of your war. We also heard of what happened yesterday on Democracy Day. And all we get from the federal government is just rhapsody. You know, every day they come on air, they make promises, they tell you, the federal government will tell you it's done its best on top of the situation and so on. But it's like Messi, somebody coming to tell you that, Messi, you're a man. I mean, such a person, when I say it now, use the word now, Messi will tell me you're on air. But how will somebody come to tell you, Messi, that you're a man? And you want to examine the person's head. On daily basis, you tell us you're on top of the situation, yet the situation is festered. So I don't know how you're on top of such a situation. So my dear Messi and dear Nigerians, I can tell you that when it comes to economy, when it comes to security, the federal government has performed abysmally. In fact, the federal government has failed woefully when it comes to the economy and when it comes to security. Nigerians are the mercy. Some governors have even cried out saying that these terrorists have taken over half of their state. They're in charge of local governments. They've hoisted their flags and so on. Some even take, levies and taxes from the villagers. And they say you're on top of the situation. The annoying thing is that certain persons who I can refer to as enablers, like Gumi and co, will make inflammatory statements with impunity. Will dare the federal government look at what he said about the killings in Owo without a change of conscience, trying to justify the killing. I mean, how else will it come? What else do you need to prove that these are enablers? And they are benefiting tremendously from the killings and the kidnappings and terrorism going on in this country. And you have a federal government that is just silent. But if any Southerner, especially those from the Southeast, should make such a comment, they will either invade that territory or arrest such a person. So, my dear sister, I can tell you that the leadership is absolutely correct. The federal government has failed woefully in addressing the security situation and the economic situation in the country.
But let's also look at this now. If you look at the security situation, it seems to be a global concern. I mean, it's not just peculiar to Nigeria. You have even developed climes where you have proper structures and you want to say that the government is on top of the situation, grappling with a lot. For instance, the United States been on top of the news of recent times with the recent shootings in different parts. And so don't you think that, you know, it's just a universal issue and not necessarily, you know, a Nigerian problem?
let us not try to embellish the facts or employ what we refer to as in criminology techniques of neutralization. That would be absolutely, absolutely wrong. In the civilized crimes, the perpetrators are arrested and there is swift response. There is no such thing as unknown gunmen. You don't hear that in civilized crimes. But that's what you hear. That's the mantra right now, unknown gunmen. Every time unknown gunmen. And in civilized crimes, the perpetrators are arrested. How many of them are arrested here? So you cannot make comparisons. Of course, there is no country in this world that is devoid of crime. The more civilized you are, the more criminal activities you are bound to experience. No doubt about that. I mean, it's crime goes with civilization. That we all agree. But the steps taken by the government is what makes the difference. So you cannot compare civilized countries to Nigeria, where everything you hear is on top of the situation where nothing is done. In civilized crimes, you cannot vote money and release that money to service chiefs, and their successors will come on there to say there is nothing to show for it, that nothing was bought with the money released. And you appoint those same service chiefs as ambassadors. It won't happen in any civilized crime. That is encouraging criminality itself. So you vote money, maybe $1 trillion, $1 trillion to buy equipment to fight the crime. And the equipment are not bought. And those who ought to have been punished are being made ambassadors. You can't have that. So the situation is distinct. You can't hear of unknown gunmen in civilized crimes. You can't hear that. And once these things happen, the government reacts promptly. They arrest perpetrators. That is what happens. Has it happened in Nigeria? Not at all. So please, there is no comparison whatsoever.
Okay. But, I mean, from what you're saying is that the approach is different. So you have crime and the issue of, security as a major concern in different crimes. But at the end of the day, it's the approach. But we also have, just as you have the police structure, you also have police. You have everything that it takes, just as you would have in this crime. So the problem or the question would be, why are we not having the desired result? Why are we not making the arrest? And why are we not pushing?
There is some level of complicity, high level. It was the Nigerian military head of state, late now, I don't want to use the word of blessed memory, we all know why, late now, who said for crime to last for 48 hours, then the government is involved. That is a military head of state who said that. And that is a fact.
So you're saying that the government. So are you saying that the government is responsible for the insecurity that we're experiencing right now? That the government has a hand in.
Mercy. Without provocations, Mercy. I've said this 1 billion times now. I've said the government is complicit. I've said it 1 billion times. How else? You give money to somebody. Okay, you send an IG to Bruno. A former IG to Bruno, he disobeys you. This is insubordination. You go to Bruno few months after or few weeks after, and only to be told that the IG never spent a night there. What did you say? You said, oh, you go back and interrogate. The IG served out his term. No punishment for him. How else can you be complicit? Look at what Gumi is doing. You're silent. Look at what happened to the former service chief. The NSA came on air to say the service chief did not use the money that was voted to buy the arms. Their successors said the same thing. You made them ambassadors. How can you be complicit? Without implications, the federal government is complicit.
All right. Well, let's move away from that so we can also share your thoughts on other issues. I mean, still looking at the leadership newspaper, you have Sarah asking flag bearers to publish assets and reject vote buying. Now, what difference will this make as we inch close to our 2023 elections? Whether they publish your assets or not, does it stop? Sarah is asking flag bearers to publish their asset, more like asset declaration, and also asking that they reject vote buying. I don't know how these things can be, but I'm saying that what difference does this make if they declare their asset? Does it change anything?
Well, if they declare their asset, it is a way of gauging to a very large extent. It serves as a barometer to know if, for example, what you declared and by the time you hit office, what you're also going to declare, because it's even a law. So if Sarah is only reiterating it, it's only accentuating it. It's a law. Once you have an appointment or you're elected into office, you declare your asset. That's why you have the CCB and the CCT. So it's already a law. Now, the whole essence is to check fraud. Because some people go into office and enrich themselves at the expense of the state and Nigerians by extension. So if you declare your assets, say you have just 2 houses, at the end of that tenure of 4 years, when your first term probably will come to an end, and you now have 5 or 6 houses, of course, they will have to interrogate to know how you got the extra 1 or 2 houses. When they look at the practices of your office in terms of remuneration and what have you. So the whole essence is to check fraud. But we all know that Nigerians and politicians know how to circumvent this process. They will get these properties by proxy, buy the houses in the names of their friends, colleagues, family members, and what have you. But that is left for the security agencies, the anti-graft agencies to do a thorough job, just as they did with the the Accountant General of the Federation and so on, who have been admitted to bail. And I can assure you that matter will be consigned into oblivion. What they are just doing is employ what we call the Fabian policy. With the passage of time, it will be consigned into oblivion, and that is the end of that, and end of it. So there's nothing wrong with what Sarah is saying. It's actually not new. You have it in the CCB and you have the CCT to try offenders. So there's really nothing new. Then when you talk of the vote buying, politicians will always want to buy votes. And Nigerians are so hungry, impecunious. They need money to survive. You can't tell the Nigerian not to accept money and vote his conscience. And the first question is going to ask is, how do I pay my child's school fees? How do I pay my rent? How do I eat for that day? You see, these are the issues. So while we are against vote buying or vote selling, but the issue is you must get an environment that will also serve as a deterrent. And the Nigerians must be able to feed themselves, if not 3, at least 2 square meals. At least be able to address the basic needs. That is when you can make sense to any Nigerian when you say don't sell your vote or don't buy your vote. But when you see a man who cannot feed and somebody gives him 5,000 naira, not everybody can resist that temptation. It's difficult to resist that temptation. We have to be honest with ourselves. He wants to live for the office. We're not talking of luxury. We're talking of basic things now. He wants to go to work in the morning. If he doesn't go to work that morning, he will be sacked. Meanwhile, he doesn't have the money to go to work. His child will have to go to school. They give him 5,000. That will be enough for his transport a week. And that's what his fee. What do you want him to do? But my point is...
We seem to be having a haul back from you, so I'd like that you probably turn, turn off the volume of your TV set if that's on, because we're having a feedback right now. And that would actually help us have a smooth conversation. But let's just stay quickly with the leadership newspaper now. Okay, so I think this is better. Let's just look at one on the leadership before we turn our attention to the Punch. Now, on the leadership, the Ekiti elections very close. We're looking at June the 18th, and we're hearing that there'll be deployment of DIG. You have the AIGs and 4 helicopters, and we're just talking about high presence of security personnel for that elections. Now, 2 school of thought. Others are saying we cannot constantly militarize our elections. That has always been the pattern. But on the other hand, you can also not take out the fact that security is a major concern. So where do we go from here? What are your thoughts?
No, for now, I think it's necessary. Because when you consider the political tension and also consider the security situation in the country, I think we need that number of policemen during at the Ekiti, not just Ekiti, any elections for now in this country, because you have these terrorists who might want to strike. You also have hoodlums who might want to disrupt the process. The whole issue of security has really nothing to do with safeguarding the process, so to speak. In other words, to prevent smashing of ballot boxes and so on. I mean, we've passed that stage now. Even if it smashes the ballot box, it won't take it anywhere. I mean, it will amount to nothing. So it's all about the maintenance of law and order at the various polling units. So I think it is extremely necessary for now, when you consider the volatile, the highly combustible political situation, especially with the reign of terrorism in this country, you need these people around there. Because these terrorists might want to make a statement. They might also want to truncate the process. So you need the security at this point in time. With the passage of time, I think when the situations have, most of these situations, security have been contained, probably we are going to reduce the number. But I don't think we will ever, in the next 10 years, do away with security personnel during elections. Probably the numbers will reduce. But for now, it is important. It's expedient that you have them.
All right, so quickly on the Punch, the banner caption talks about the APC and its plan to unveil its running mate on Wednesday, and the focus is going to be on the Northeast. And that's it. But you also have some quarters that are saying, some persons are saying, where is fairness and where's equity if we're looking at, the gentleman's agreement, even though it's not constitutionally recognized? How come the party is not even considering zoning or having, the vice president slot coming from the Southeast, especially, with all of the concerns?
Yes, I agree to a very large extent. But let us also not forget that what is paramount now for the political party is winning the election. So when you talk of choosing a candidate, you must take that into consideration. That is number one. Number two, you have 2 major blocks, the North and the South. You have a Southern presidential candidate in the person of Tinubu. Although I'm advanced to his presidency for so many reasons, principally on health grounds, because we are going to have a rehash of the Yaradua or, God forbid, Buhari scenario. And it's going to take a toll on Nigeria. But having said that, is there, Nigerians are going to decide. Now, you have Tinubu from the South. Definitely, it is only wise and expedient that you take somebody from the North. So, if the APC is considering a Northern candidate, I don't think it should be faulted. Yes, the sentiments of Southeast and the issue of trying to placate the evils, the Southeasterners who believe that they have been marginalized or discriminated against. But you have the PDP The choice is theirs. It's either you vote for the APC, or you vote for the PDP, or you vote for Labour Party. But for the APC, if we have to be honest with ourselves, the presidential candidate is from the south, then the vice presidential running mate must come from the north. I think it's only fair. And I don't think anybody should select the APC for that reason. You cannot take from the south, because whether you like it or not, Tinubu is of the southwest, the southeast is also of the south, so you have a presidential candidate and a running mate from the south. Now, that's not fair. That's not fair. One should come from the south and one should come from the north.
But also, as logical as that sounds, with all of the arrangement, because there's no words written. In the Constitution of all of that logic and plan.
That's why I said expedient. We are talking of expediency now. Yeah. And it's also backed by logic.
Okay.
Because you don't have two Southerners.
Well, who said Opunabon Kataria? Let's also look at this. If we're talking about logic, so these things are not rocket science. It's not fixed. They're no.
It's not cast on stone.
Exactly. So the point is, so what is wrong if you have a southwestern candidate and a southeastern candidate if it's not cast on stone? If it's logic, who says that cannot happen?
Mercy. If you listen to me, I said it is expedient. First and foremost, what you consider is how to win the elections. You need the votes from the north. If you take the south, east, the northerners will feel excluded, and they might deny you that vote. You see, that's why I said if we're not talking of what is right and what is wrong, we are talking of what is expedient. So you need the vote from the north. And if you exclude them, of course, it's automatic. The northerners will just say, let us give the whole vote to Atiku, who is already a northerner, and who is also going to take a running mate from the south. So you have an advantage. You take all these things under advisement. These things are going to dictate to you your choice of a running mate.
Okay.
It's not just saying.
Opunabon Katara, you have made your points, very strong points that you have reasoned or made right there. But let's also look at it now differently, but the same issue on the Daily Independent. It talks about the concerns of having a Muslim ticket, and that's what it is. Because if you look at the Northeast, how much of a Christian candidate are you going to get from there? We cannot take these things out because all of these factors always influence the electoral process, whether or not we like it or not. Religion has always been top on the notch, and you can't take out zoning as well. Different zones. But here you have Khan also raising concern about a Muslim ticket, saying, hey, this is going to be chaotic, and that's not what we want for our country. Now, also bearing in mind that in 2015, apparently, maybe we probably would have had the former governor of Lagos State running as vice president with President Muhammadu Buhari at the time. But it wasn't going to work because it was going to be a Muslim ticket. I also remember that, in 1993, as long as we're celebrating, the Democracy Day, the Abiola ticket was a Muslim ticket. And it felt like Nigerians accepted that. So I'm just wondering how this thing's going to play out eventually if you have a political party tilting towards a Muslim ticket. What do you think the outcome will become or will be?
Mercy.
Yes, please.
1993 is a different scenario altogether.
Okay.
One, Nigerians were in a hurry to get out of the matrix rule. So anything democracy was acceptable.
Really?
That is one. Because a lot of people impugned the transition process of Babangida, who kept shifting the date. There's a holdback. I think it's from your end. Because everything is muted here.
I can hear you clearly. So, just go ahead.
Okay. Nigeria, good. It's better now. Yeah. So, IPP kept shifting the dates. The evil genius kept shifting the dates. You understand? And so a lot of people doubted the transition process. And so we welcome anything that was going to usher in democracy. That is different. Number two, the popularity Abiola has is difficult for any Nigerian today to have such a popularity and acceptability. The focus was on Abiola himself, not even on Kingdom. Now, having said that, we have been so polarized right now in this country that it will be foolhardy to ignore the sensitive nature of religion in our politics. A Muslim candidate definitely will spell doom for any party, just as a Christian candidate will spell doom for any party. Because, you know, there is a cold war, whether we accept it or not, between the Muslims and the Christians. There is that cold war in this country, whether we agree on national telly or not. Muslims watch Christians with jaundiced eyes. The Christians also watch Muslims with jaundiced eyes. And that is why Khan is making that statement, that it will not accept a Muslim candidate. We cannot pretend that this false line is going to exist. They do exist. And that is the problem Tinubu is going to have, because the Southerner is a Muslim from the south. And if we talk of a Christian from the north, that Christian from the north will not be accepted by northerners just the way a Muslim from the north will be accepted. So how many votes will the Christian bring to the table? So there is that conundrum. It's in a fish. I'm talking of Tinubu right now. Atiku has a better chance. He's a Muslim from the north. He can take any Southerner from the south. Southerners are predominantly Christians. So Atiku is definitely not going to have that problem. The problem Atiku is going to have right now is who will bring more votes, add value to his election. That's the problem. That's why they're talking of Okowa and Wike. But in the case of Tinubu, most Northerners who are prominent and can add value to his electors are Muslims. So, and if he gets a Muslim on board as a running mate, it's going to be catastrophic politically, I can tell you that.
All right.
Because most Christians will not even vote for him, I can tell you that. From the south, most of them, it might cost him that election. Then from the north, how many Muslims are Christians that will vote for him? So the north will even vote for Atiku. That's what they'll do. So he's in a fish right now. I pray God will grant him the grace to scale through this hurdle.
So are you saying that Nigerians would choose competence over religion? Or, you know, they would choose religion over competence?
Let us not deceive ourselves with the issue of competence. You have competent people in every zone. You have them. You have, if it was not from the southeast, don't you have people who are that they are not, is it not from the south? You have them also in the north. You have competent people all over. Now, from the pool, you will choose. And when you're choosing, you consider certain things. Competence, that's why there's somebody that adds value. I just summarize it. Somebody that will bring votes, number one. Somebody that is intelligent and competent that will assist the number one man to succeed. These are all the variables you are going to consider. So when people say competence, it's all inclusive. And you have them in every zone, you have them in every state. Not just zone, you have them in every state.
Also, just as you were actually putting out your thoughts and the analogy, you made reference to the fact that in 1993, the difference is that Nigerians were in a hurry to, you know, just get out of the military era.
Yeah, they were
but are you sure that was the case, or it was a case of acceptance? It was a case where for the very first time, Nigerians would put down their religious sentiment and decide to embrace competence and capacity.
Yes, that is. You know, I told you, if you listen carefully, Messi, I said it's a portmanteau of issues, not just one isolated. I said competence, acceptability, which is legitimacy, popularity, and so on. Yeah, they were all considered and brought together. And at that time, Nigerians were hankering for civilian rule or democratic rule. That is again. And two, the fourth ones were not as accentuated as they are right now. We didn't have terrorism at that point. You hardly heard of Nigerians committing suicide and so on. So the situation is quite distinct. Now, Nigerians have been sensitized to the actuality of the artificiality of oneness. That is the problem we have in this country. And when you are in politics, this is also considered. Why do you have people shouting, is the turn of the north, is the turn of the east, is the turn of the west, is the turn of the south? And in 1992, 93, we didn't have that. So the situation is different. You know.
Kataria, many thanks for being part of the breakfast this morning. We are out of time and we would definitely love to share your thoughts and more interesting headlines as we proceed in the course of the week. Thank you so much for being part of the show this morning. Do have a fantastic day. All right, then. That's the size of the press this morning. I hope you had a great time. Let's take a break and tell you what happened today in history. We'll be right back with the breakfast.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them. If you no talk, then go beat you. Now 2,500 and they pay.
Life can be fun and rewarding, but it also comes with some risk. As in business, you win some, you lose some. And that's why you need to be wise in the choices you make. It's like placing a bet. Again, you need to be wise. wise in choosing an innovative platform with the highest market options and highest odds ever. That's why Winners Golden Bet, the leader in online, in-shop, virtual, and live sports betting, gives you enhanced platforms that offer you the best chances of winning. For betting on live soccer matches, live dog races, and virtual games, Winners Golden Bet is your best bet. Instant payment of winnings guaranteed. Play online or in any of our numerous shops nearest to you.
Hey guys, be wise. Play on Winners Golden Bet.
Winners Golden Bet, the wise choice.
So what are the top decisions that the United States considers necessary that Nigeria must take? I like to think of my interactions as conversations, not interviews. And that's why I say asking questions is both an art and a science. Everyone says in Islam you are allowed to have 4 wives. Is it mandatory? The right question enables answers that educate, inform, clarify, and help you, the viewer, to better understand the issue before making up your mind.
Our goal is to reduce from 10 to 2 days the time it takes to register businesses in Nigeria.
Join me every week on this station, Plus TV Africa, and gain exclusive access to my conversations. I'm Angela Ajetumobi.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect am. If you no talk, dem go beat you. Na 2,500 they pay.
Increase the reach of your events or business services. To advertise on Plus TV Africa, please call 0906 000 5719 or 0909 040 8408 or send an email to marketing@plustvafrica.com. Plus TV Africa. Big stories live here.
for upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
Well, we're back with the breakfast, and our focus is on the Nigerian democratic system as we celebrate Democracy Day 23 years after. What are we looking at exactly? We have Nika Gule, who's a public affairs analyst, who joins the conversation. Nika Gule, it's good to have you join us this morning.
Thank you very much for having me, and good morning to our viewers.
All right, then. Now, a bit of it, we talk about, the tenets of democracy. Some people would say it includes the freedom of assembly, association, property right, freedom of religion, speech, inclusiveness, equity, citizenship, consent of the governed, voting rights, freedom from unwarranted governmental deprivation of rights to life and liberty, and minority rights. I mean, the list is almost endless. But I'd like to share your thoughts. How would you describe the Nigerian democratic system?
Thank you very much for the question. I would describe Nigeria's democratic system as a journey. And the latest leg of the journey started 23 years ago in 1999. And progress has been made on the journey up to this moment. We are not where we want to be or where we should be, but the journey is on, and next year, 2023, is going to be very significant in terms of milestone. It will be epochal because we will have an opportunity to elect a new set of leaders at all levels as part of this journey. And I will say that what I am seeing in the Nigerian populace now is very heartwarming. I think the sing-song on many people's lips now is the PVC. And the PVC, to me, even though the P is permanent voters card, I will replace that P with people and power, because that is where our power lies as a people, to be part of the democratic process. So I see the democratic process to be in 4 tiers. So you have the executive, the legislative, and the judicial arms of government, but the 4th tier is the people arm of government. And for a long time in this democratic journey, that 4th tier has been quiet, has been docile, has been silent, but now there is a momentum, a wake-up call sort of that 4th tier, which is the people coming into the democratic space. And I would say Nigeria will be the better for it.
But just before we get to the people, you already understand that, politics actually takes place within the framework. So we're talking about the federal presidential system and a system where you have, the legislative arm of government. You also have the judiciary and the executive. I'd like you to, go through this now. How would you describe, 23 years after now, how would you describe, the executive arm of government? This is the framework. So you have the executive, you have the judiciary, and you have the legislature. How would you describe?
I would analyze the executive arm of government in this way. We have had President Obasanjo, Yar'Adua, Jonathan, Buhari. We have had 4 executive presidents in Nigeria since we started this leg of our democratic journey. And I will say that the executive arm of government have got a failed mark in my own assessment. And the reason why I give them fail is that the person who started the executive leg of the relay race, President Olusegun Obasanjo, I personally think we were unlucky to have him as the first person to begin that relay race. Because President Obasanjo, regardless of what people think or whatever good he would have delivered, he damaged our democracy ab initio. Because democracy thrives on certain pillars. The first pillar is the rule of law. The second pillar is the independence of the legislative and judicial arm of government. And of course, the fourth pillar is the application of the oath of office and the constitution in the management of the affairs of state. And President Obasanjo failed on all these counts, all of them. It was under President Obasanjo's 8 years that the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, will make a judicial pronouncement, and then the Attorney General interprets that judgment in howsoever way he wants it and goes ahead to implement it. So it was like the Attorney General had the final say in judicial pronouncement. That damaged the judiciary. It was under President Obasanjo's government that the legislative arm of government was suppressed, was made to become an appendage of the presidency. You see, those who fashioned the presidential system of government that we are operating now, the United States, they knew that the executive arm of government is handed humongous powers. And when you hand the executive such powers, you need the legislative and the judicial arms of government to act as checks, as moderations to those powers. I mean, I tell people that this is akin to handing a driver a powerful car with the control of the accelerator. But then you give someone else the control of the brake pedal, so that when this driver is pushing the accelerator too hard and the car is heading into the bush or into an accident, the person controlling the brake pedal slams on the brake pedal to slow down the car and give the driver control. This is the way it happens, that the executive have the accelerator, the judiciary and the legislature have the brake pedal. But what President Obasanjo did, which has been copied by successive presidents to date, is that he first and foremost disabled that brake pedal. He made that brake pedal to be irrelevant, the brake pedal to be ineffective, that brake pedal to just become like his errand boys. And then he carried on with the affairs of state. And that is where we have found ourselves now. So President Obasanjo didn't rule with the rule of law. It was only him who will use 3 or 4 members of a state legislature and impeach a governor. Impeach a governor regardless of the court cases that were standing against such an action. It was President Obasanjo who will send soldiers to go and murder people in Odi and as it happened in Zakibiam without any judicial process. So that leg of that journey we started with President Obasanjo has affected the executive arm of government till today. And from President Obasanjo, we got to President Yaradua. President Yaradua was different because he actually started on a very sound footing. He was trying to reverse some of the damage that President Obasanjo had caused to the executive arm of government Unfortunately, President Yar'Adua was in poor health, and he couldn't just see those reforms he started on to fruition, and he passed away. Onto the stage came President Jonathan. President Jonathan, in my own ranking, is somebody who was not prepared for the office of president. I think he got there by accident. He had these humongous powers, but he didn't even know how to use them. And at the end of the day, President Jonathan, as it was alleged and as evidence showed, was not in control of affairs of state.
Nick Agule.
And onto the scene.
Yes. Nick Agule, I mean, for the want of time, because we're just moving very fast, and you know how it can be. But quickly, I like you, I mean, there has been for the executive, because we're talking about a system where the Nigerian politics operates in a framework. And if we're looking at the Nigerian democratic system, then we can talk about, you know, the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and the people. In all of this, the question would be, where is the people? You have mentioned the shortfalls of the executive arm of government during the 1999 administration, democratic government, where you had the President Olusegun Obasanjo. Where is the people? I mean, where do you count the people? How do you also have, because you said it's in strata, so you have the executive, the legislature, the judiciary, and the masses, the people. Where were they when all of this was going on? But away from that, quickly, can you tell us how you would rate the judiciary and the legislative arm of government, which is a framework where a democratic system thrives?
Thank you very much for that question. Before I answer your question, I would like to answer your question that the people have been absent. Majority of the people who go to vote are those who will most likely say their votes. The people who will most likely not say their votes have been absent in this process. And this is why we are calling on them now that if you are sitting in your fine house, in your posh estate, in your fine office, and you don't have your voter's card, you are deceiving yourself that you can do well when Nigeria is not doing well. It is better you step forward now, get your voter's card with registration ending in the next 16 days so that you can come into the process. You cannot allow the urchins, the area boys, the Okada riders to be electing leaders for you. And then you will not be on WhatsApp and social media complaining for the next 4 years. Now, coming to the legislative...
but these persons are Nigerians. I mean, everyone is exercising their right. So also, I mean, just a cotton, having a PVC does not translate into votes. You can have a PVC does not mean that you have casted your vote or you're going to cast your vote.
We are very correct. So this thing is in stages. Stage one now is that we are campaigning for these people to go and get their PVCs. Because if you don't have your PVC, you cannot step out to vote. And you will notice that from the 1st of July, after the close of the voters register, the messages will now begin to be targeted at those who have PVCs, that in February, March next year, you must come out and make your voices heard. Otherwise, we are going to get another set of bad leaders that we are going to complain and suffer with for the next 4 years. So now the target, the focus is on get that PVC. And then from there, we're going to be talking about how to use it. Now, coming to the legislative arm of government, the legislative arm of government, picking up from where President Obasanjo started us on in 1999, have been in the pockets of the executives, whether the executives are the federal, state, or local government. You will see that for every president and governor since President Obasanjo, the first thing they want to do is they want to install the leader of the legislative arm of government. So that once they do, that has been given powers in the Constitution to remove a sitting executive who is recalcitrant, who is not delivering good governance. And the legislative arm of government in Nigeria at all levels have been muted. They have not exercised their powers. The executive routinely ignore them. And any attempt sometimes for the legislative arm of government to even exercise their constitutional powers, you see brigandage from the executive arm of government, like locking up the houses of assembly or the National Assembly, beating up legislators, chasing them all over the place. And these are the kind of things that must stop. You know, when we come to the judicial arm of government, this arm of government, which is said to be the last hope of the common man, used to be very good. But with time, and especially with what has happened in this democratic dispensation coming forward, this arm of government have also joined the executive and the judicial arms to be very corrupt. You see strange judgments now being given by the judicial arm of government, because they have discovered probably that they were being left out of the party and they want to join the party. So judgments in Nigeria now are seeming to be for the highest bidder, because you cannot understand some of the judgments that this judicial arm of government is given. But in all of this, the people are the ones that hold the power. You see, the Constitution is very critical. The Constitution provides the people the power to recall, that is, impeach the legislative arm of government. So if an executive arm of government is holding the legislature hostage, the people must put pressure on that legislature to do their job. And if they don't want to do their job, then the people should start the recall process of the legislators. I can assure you that this current National Assembly that we have, that seems to be like puppets, if there is a recall proceeding in 109 senatorial districts, in 360 federal constituencies, to recall these members of National Assembly who have refused to do their job, I can assure you that something dramatic will happen in that National Assembly. And the same holds true for the states. So again, we're talking about the people. The people need to understand their rights. The people need to know that they have the power. And we shouldn't just be on the sideline complaining, whinging, and whining, but we should actually step into the political process, take our rightful seats, and drive this process forward.
But let's get to this one. It's been 23 years, I mean, after uninterrupted democratic process. And some people are still saying that it is no longer nascent. But constantly we hear the president and, you know, the elites, the ruling class saying it's a nascent democracy. We're gradually getting there. At what point do we say that, hey, we're ripe for this?
I will not agree that our democracy is nascent. After 23 years, even the American democracy that is 200 years plus, 23 years is 10% of that. So we should by now have developed this democracy to a point where it will be thriving. It will be delivering prosperity to Nigerians. It will be delivering good governance to Nigerians. But we have not got to that point yet. We are still at the point where people are coming into political office not with the intention of serving the people, of giving good governance for the people, but more like a business where they are coming in to make money, make that money legitimately, but no, make that money by looting the treasury, by bringing in grant looting schemes like fuel subsidy, foreign exchange subsidy, electricity subsidy, those kind of schemes where trillions of naira of Nigeria's money is being looted and unaccounted for. So that is where we are, that 23 years now, 23 years is a long, long time. 23 years is a quarter of a person who will live 100 years. And you cannot say a quarter of a lifetime of a person should be thrown away and we are still calling it nascent. We are calling it nascent because we haven't done what we needed to do. Now, all that has happened in the past is gone, is history. What is left for us now is for the future. How are we going to correct this? How are we going to build our democracy and make it strong? How are we going to build strong institutions so that we are no longer looking at strong individuals? Nobody should be looking at President Buhari. We should be looking at the police. We should be looking at the healthcare systems. We should be looking at the military institution. We should be looking at the judicial institutions. We should be looking at those institutions, allowing those institutions to do their work. For instance, you have cases like a crime has been committed, and then you hear President Buhari ordering the chief of defense staff and the service chiefs or the inspector general of police to go and do A, B, and C. That should not be. Once something happens, the institutions that are responsible for that, they should just get on with their work. They don't have to be acting as senior special assistants to the president. They shouldn't be acting as if they are an appendage of the presidency.
Okay.
They are an institution. Yes.
Well, so the entire essence of Democracy Day seemed to be hinged on the 1993 annulled elections. And basically, do you think that we have learned any lessons? And what does that really mean? That prior to this time, you remember that, you know, May 29 has always been a Democracy Day for Nigerians. But of course, it's been moved by the president 2018, you know, to June the 12th. And it feels like it's hinged on that election that happened in 1993. Free, fair, and credible elections. What are your thoughts?
Well, I will answer this in two halves. On the positive side, I will say yes, we have learned our lessons because for 23 years now, we have kept the military in the barracks and we have had civilians superintend over the affairs of Nigeria. And we have had transition from Obasanjo to Yar'Adua to Jonathan we have had 4 transitions. And we have even had the transition of a sitting president to his opponent. So on that count, I would say that yes, we have learned lessons, but then on the conduct of free, fair, and credible elections, I would say that we have not learned much lessons from that one, because the first 2 or 3 electoral cycles in Nigeria were all a sham. In fact, President Yar'Adua, when he was elected in 2007, he confirmed that he knows that the process that brought him into office was a sham. And he promised that he was going to embark on electoral reforms, you know. So on that basis, we have not been having credibility in our elections. But I have very firm faith in the 2022 electoral law. I think the 2022 electoral law with mechanisms like the electronic transmission of results is going to be very key in strengthening the Independent National Electoral Commission and making our elections to be very difficult to rig, you know, and that is what is going to engender confidence in Nigerians, especially the elite class, the educated working class ones who have switched off from the electoral process, leaving only those who go to say their votes to be part of the process. It will engender confidence in them and bring them to the ballot. And when it brings them to the ballot, the quality of candidates will be different.
Nika Gule, I mean, I'm being prompted to move away, and that's because we have to go. We've exhausted our time right here on this one. But just a quick one, because we're talking about the Nigerian democratic system, and we're also celebrating democracy uninterrupted 23 years and where we are right now. Now, big question has always been, if you look at other African countries, there seem to be, you know, coup, counter-coup activities thriving. And then you ask what's going on. Nigeria is big brother of Africa. And people have constantly said how democracy is nothing to write home about. Do you think that, you know, having the worst form of democracy and having, you know, a military rule is something that we should consider?
Military rule should never be considered at all. Because I personally believe that the military are a huge cause of the problems that we face in Nigeria today. Because the first thing the military do when they come into office is to suspend the constitution. And any country that is not being run with the rule of law is not going to make progress. And the other thing is that these coups are happening elsewhere in Africa because the politicians are giving the soldiers the reason for that.
Nika Gule.
And that is why in Nigeria we need to be careful. The politicians need to deliver good governance so that they can continue to keep the military in the barracks.
Thank you
That's
so
just
much. Nika Gule,
the message about that.
we have to let you go. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. You have raised very strong and resilient points right here this morning as Nigerians actually celebrate 23 years of civil rule. We look forward to sharing more of your thoughts in the course of the show.
Thank you very much. Messi, I hope you have your voter's card. I have mine.
Why not?
I will show you at the next program.
That's okay. Many thanks for being part of the show. I mean, the conversation right here, it's important that you get your PVCs because, I mean, elections are not won by word of mouth and tweets. They're won by numbers. And so go out there, get your PVC, and be sure to go out and cast your vote for your favorite candidate. That's the size of a conversation this morning. When we return, it will be time for us to look at another major concern. We're looking at the Ekiti state elections and, the debate that just happened. Looking at these candidates and the capacity, competence, matching that with your speech. Stay with us.
What we do not understand, we will stigmatize.
What you can see is the remaining of the tanker that exploded.
The suspect equally confessed.
A 500 naira they collect them.
If you no talk, then go beat you.
Now 2,500 when they pay.
Nigeria's Niger Delta region, from where the black gold fuels Africa's largest economy, where the lines between wealth and poverty has never been thinner. Conflicts, poverty, insecurity, and environmental challenges daily confront the region. How can the Niger Delta story be changed for the better?
Join Mamude Akuga at 9 p.m. every Friday evening on Plus TV Africa as he probes deep in search of solutions.
Inside the Niger Delta with Mamude Akuga, the authentic voice of Nigeria's oil-rich region.
It is engagement we need to have.
Those who suffer miscarriages are never taken into account.
Members of the National Assembly are also influence peddlers.
You are sitting on Nigerians' money.
From the barbing, I pay my rent. On the barbing, I send my children to school.
A consultative engagement.
No any tangible notification before they ban us.
It's one thing for people to be at your back and the heat of the moment. And another thing for them to still be with you when push comes to shove.
I will do everything to take Lagos out of the national grid.
How can we have peace without justice?
Plus politics. It's not just another political conversation, it's about keeping you in the know. The relevant interviews, asking the tough questions to those that matter. Get the answers you need. Does it mean that the people who were injured, people who were shot at, those who were involved in that stampede are not going to get justice?
It is unfortunate, it is sad that we have a government of deaf and dumb.
Analysis from top experts.
The last election was not really an election.
We feel that Obasanjo has a very special place in his heart for hating Ijaw people.
I think it really boils down to two things. One, trust and accountability.
Plus Politics, every weeknight at 7 p.m. on Plus TV Africa.
His medal has been directed to empower 1,000 persons with disabilities in each state in the next 12 months.
When I start hearing the shoot of gun.
Whatever I've done.
Every public policy has winners and losers, and some will not be very happy with you, while others, usually the silent majority, will be quite happy.
It's the breakfast on Plus TV Africa. The governorship elections in Ekiti is scheduled for June the 18th, and on that day, little over a week from now, the people of the state will elect a successor to Governor Kayode Fayemi, whose term is coming to an end soon. According to the final list released by the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, 16 political parties will run in the elections, with 14 male candidates and 2 female candidates. Leading the pack of contenders are Abiodun Oyebanji as the governorship candidate of All Ruling Progressive Congress, Olabisi Kolawole for the opposition, that's the People's Democratic Party, Sheguoni, candidate of the Social Democratic Party, who was the governor of the state between 2007 and 2010. Now, before he was sacked by the judiciary in the judgment that brought incumbent Governor Fayemi into office in his first term. The list is almost endless, and that's because we're out of time. The truth is, everyone is seeking to become the governor. Now, you also have that fact that you have a former governor seeking to return to Ado-Ekiti Government House through what his supporters call the third force, 12 years after leaving the office. Without prejudice to the other candidates or political parties, checks conducted across the state suggest that the above-mentioned candidates are the front runners in this year's Ekiti governorship election. We have a guest joining us, Larry Olayinka. It's good to have you join us this morning as a political analyst. Thank you for joining us, and once again, happy belated Democracy Day.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
So let's get straight to it now. Looking at the forerunners, I mean, you have like 16 candidates, including, 2 females, which we must commend, and you have 14 male candidates. But according to reports, you have strong contenders, frontliners. What do you think that Ekiti State currently needs?
Well, Ekiti State presently needs, like every other state in Nigeria, need a peaceful environment, an environment where people can go out and do their businesses without fear of being attacked, where people can move freely without fear of being abducted by bandits. That is the most important thing now. The moment you are not secured, the moment there is a high level of insecurity, nothing will move. Ekiti is an agrarian state. Most people can no longer go to their farms now. People are kidnapped in their farms. People are killed. Women are raped. Their daughters are raped in their farms. So, what Ekiti State needs majorly now is a secured environment. And what the state needs is a government that will be bold enough to confront the issue of insecurity head-on.
But let's also look at, this candidate. The election's very close, 18th of June, and look at, the candidates that are vying for, the office of the governor, and the spinner debate that's been put out. Juxtaposing, looking at the speech that they have made, which of these candidates you think has actually captured the interest and the concern of the Ekiti people?
The first thing you need to look at is the pedigree, personality, political party, then the experience of the people contesting. For the APC, we have somebody who was personal assistant to Otunbani Adebayo between 1999 and 2003. And we know what happened during that government. It was during that government that local government workers were owed salaries up to like 12, 13, 14 months. And he was part of the government. He was also secretary to the state government up to 6-7 months ago. So he worked with Fayemi between 2010 and 2014 as a commissioner. And it was during that government that it was plunked into untold debt. A lot of money was borrowed, nothing was used. It was used for nothing. Then he was also part of the government of this present government, and he was a member of the governing council of Ekiti State University. He was part of that governing council that sacked over 1,000 workers in that university. So I'll read out his own antecedents, and then we have candidate of PDP, Otumba Pisikola Wole, who was his supervisor in the local government, who was House of Assembly member between 2007 and 2011. Who was also a member of the Governing Council of Federal Polytechnic Bida between 2012 and 2014, who was Commissioner for Environment in the State between 2014 and 2018. He was chairman of PDP in the State between 2020 and 2021. So those are the two. Then the other person, Engineer Sheguni, who was governor of Ekiti State 15 years ago. If you have been governor 15 years ago in a state and you say you are coming back, I've had reasons to tell people this. The same way President Buhari was brought back having been president 30 years ago, and they brought him back. He thought he was going to come and apply 1985 solution to Nigeria's 2015 and 2016 problems. We know where we are today. So if my question is clear, if you have been governor in 15, 20 years ago, there's no point trying to force yourself back, because the situation there will be different from the situation now. The dynamics then are different from the dynamics now. So those are the three main contenders, though I like to limit myself to the two main political parties in the country. That's the APC and PDP.
But do you think that ideology is fair at the time where we're pushing for a thought force? I mean, usually the media has been blamed for pushing that narrative of having just two forces.
You see, in Nigeria, we have always been pushing for thought force. Let me give you an example. In 1979, we had like 5 political parties: UPN, MPN, PRP, GMPP, and MPP. The predominant party then was PDP, was UPN and MPN. And the same thing happened in 1983 when political parties were increased to like 6. I think one NAP or something by late Tunji Braithwaite was added to it to make 6. We still had MPN and UPN as the 2 predominant parties. In 1999, we came up with many political parties. At the end of the day, what did we have? We have PDP as the predominant party. Then we had AD, then APP, and as time went on, all those parties merged to become one. So at every point in the political life of Nigeria, we've always had 2 main political parties. We've always had 2 main, but there will always be these flashes of thought force. In 2015, at the national election, we also told this issue of thought force. In 2019, they came with some people said they were going to bring UPN back to the thought force. That was when they brought SDP. They brought SDP to some point. We have had time where they thought ADP will be thought force, NDP will be thought force, and all those things. So we've never had issues of during election. You will always in the state here, for instance, in 2007, Otumba Pisikola contested governorship election under ANPP. We thought it was going to be thought force. How many votes did he get at the end of the day? In 2014. Senator Michael Okoyemba Midele, that we call MOB, brought Labour Party as third force. At the end of the day, got less than 20,000 votes in the election. So there will always be this third force, this third force. But at the end of the day, it always end up that it will always be 2 predominant political parties.
But you also can take out the fact that, if you have Shegu, he's very prominent. I mean, he's been governor before, and that already is, a fact that has been established. And the SDP is not, as much as it doesn't match up the popularity with the predominant party, that's the APC and, of course, the PDP. But, do you think it would be fair, to rule out the SDP? As a matter of fact, we have 16 contenders. Now, it's been limited to 3 because, of the capacity, strongness, and the platform of this party. Do you think it would be fair, to rule out the SDP out of this?
Like I've said, there will always be contenders. There will always be contenders. We have there have been more than 10 contenders. But in most cases because I've been part of politics here for a very long time, I've also witnessed issue of people trying to bring third forms in other states. So, but in this case, Saturday is very near. When you have a political party that up to today, how many governors does SDP have? How many senators we rally support for SDP? How many political office holders? How many persons we rally support for SDP in Ekiti State? So I don't want to restrict this matter to talking about SDP or whatever. But what I'm telling you clearly is that this election will still be between PDP and APC.
Okay, so this will just be the final in just a few seconds because we're out of time. We're looking at this contenders now. And according to the report and data that's been made available, we have 3 of them contending despite other political parties. Do you think that they have the capacity, to deliver the kind of leadership and solution that the people of Ekiti need?
I read out their political CV. I've told you about APC candidate who was secretary to the state government and who has been part of Fayemi's government. He was part of his government during his first tenure, and he was also part of his government during the second tenure. And we know what the state is witnessing today. There's insecurity everywhere. Obas are being kidnapped in their palaces. People can no longer go to their farms. There are workers employed by PDP government were sacked. I mentioned the over 1,000 workers sacked in EXU, where the APC candidate was a member of the governing council representing the government. I've also mentioned that even when court, 3 months ago, the appeal court, which is the last court for industrial matter, gave judgment that those workers should be reinstated immediately. Up to now, that judgment has not been obeyed. That is the person coming on the platform of APC, a party that has refused to obey court judgment. And I've also told you about Bisikola Wole of the PDP, who has experience in grassroots governance, who has experience in legislative governance, who has experience even in executive governance, having been commissioner, who also has political experience, having been chairman.
Mr. Olayinka, we have to let you go now. Thank you so much for your time and your thoughts. I mean, I wish we can continue with this conversation, but of course, as we inch closer to June the 18th, we will definitely share your thoughts on the issue as we proceed. Thank you so much for being part of The Breakfast. We have been speaking with Larry Olayinka. He's a political affairs analyst. We appreciate his time on the show. That's the size of the conversation this morning on The Breakfast. I hope you had a great time. We'll definitely return tomorrow. The time again is 7 o'clock to 9, where we take you through the entire show with great conversations, generating different reactions in different spaces, and great analysis coming your way right here. I am Messi Boko. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and do subscribe to our YouTube channel if you missed out on any part of the conversation. It's at Plus TV Africa and Plus TV Africa Lifestyle. Have a great day.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
welcome to Plus Trending. I am Buki November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on Plus TV Africa.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
In raising our kids, parents should stop playing God.
The internet is actually using the people.
But when you are looking for money to help other people, then it becomes easy.
Don't rush into marriage. I always say this. You rush in, you rush out.
Family is the bedrock of every society and the essence of life.
On Today with John and Helen, we dig deep into family values in every sense of the word.
Join us every Saturday at 9:15 a.m. on Plus TV Africa, DSTV channel 408.
With you, we play a part in strengthening the values passed from generation to generation.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from Plus TV Africa.
Good morning. I am Messi Boko. This is the news brief. President Muhammadu Buhari has urged candidates of political parties to continue running issue-based campaigns and to treat opponents with dignity. The president maintained that election is not a do-or-die affair. In his 2022 Democracy Day broadcast to the nation earlier, he commended the leadership of political parties in the country for the smooth conduct of their party primaries elections. Buhari reassured voters that adequate measures had been put in place to safeguard their vote during the forthcoming elections in the country.
Fellow Nigerians, today, June the 12th, marks another Democracy Day anniversary and an occasion to celebrate freedom and unity of our nation. From 1999, we consistently celebrated Democracy Day to mark the end of military rule and the return of power and control into the hands of those freely elected by the people. This is my last Democracy Day speech as your president. By June 12, 2023, exactly 1 year from today, you will already have a new president. I remain committed and determined to ensure that the new president is elected through a peaceful and transparent process. The signs so far are positive. Recently, all registered political parties conducted primaries to select their candidates for the 2023 general elections. These primaries were peaceful and orderly. Those who won were magnanimous in their victories. Those who lost were gracious in defeat. And those aggrieved opted to seek judicial justice as opposed to jungle justice. I will therefore take this opportunity on this very special day to ask all candidates to continue running issue-focused campaigns and to treat opponents with dignity. As leaders, you must all showcase high character and never forget that the world is watching us and Africa looks up to Nigeria to provide example in governance. The tone you set at the top will surely be replicated in your followers. For the voters, I am pleased to inform you that in the last 7 years, our government across all tiers has made significant investments to reform and enhance our electoral laws, systems, and processes to safeguard your votes. The executive, legislature, and judiciary were and still remain united and committed to ensure those reforms are fully implemented in the 2023 general elections.
Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello has called on Nigerians to support All Progressive Congress APC presidential candidate Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu come 2023 presidential elections. The governor made this call at an event in commemoration of June 12 Democracy Day organized by the Nigerian Women Arise for Nigeria and Kudirat Initiative for Democracy held in Abuja. Yahaya Bello described Tinubu as one of the pillars that stood rightly behind MKO Abiola during the struggle of democracy.
For all the support, the encouragement, your prayers, and your sacrifices that you all put into this struggle to ensure that our hope is alive. I am comforted in another form because thank God that the winner of that special presidential national convention, our leader Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the Jagaban of Africa and the Asiwaju of the universe, won the election free and square. That is contest for you. And that man is one of the pillars of the struggle for democracy. He was standing right behind Chief MKO Abiola.
In her recent remark, the daughter of MKO Abiola and Director General of Yahaya Bello Campaign Organization, Hasfat Abiola Castillo, said with the APC presidential candidate, she has confidence that hope will be restored to Nigeria after 30 years of struggle.
29 years after June 12 is a message that hope is reborn. And I know that there's hope for Nigerian women, there's hope for Nigerian young people, there's hope for Nigerian people with special needs. Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who was one of the proponents of June 12 struggle, one of the champions of the struggle, will be carrying the dreams Governor Yahaya Bello had, which is the dream that young people, women, and people with special needs will be well integrated in Nigeria's democracy. We'll be carrying it forward to its logical destination. So I am so hopeful, and I want to thank the Nigerian people for their support of His Excellency Governor Yahaya Bello throughout this whole effort to lead into the primaries.
MKO Abiola lost his life in the struggle for democracy on the 12th of June 1993, and the date has been declared to be in commemoration for Democracy Day in Nigeria. A former presidential aspirant, Pastor Tunde Bakari, has recounted the reason why he lost the All Progressive Congress Presidential Party primaries election that was held on the 7th and 8th of June 2022. Bakari said this during a Sunday service at the Church of the the Global Community Church. He said despite the challenges leading to the primaries, he refused to compromise his standard by giving bribes. Our correspondent Paul George was there and now reports.
The church is full to capacity. It is a moment of praise to God Almighty as Pastor Tunde Bakari mounts the pulpit to give his speech on the aftermath of the primary election. He starts by celebrating his welcome with a song. The pastor says he is more convinced now than ever before that the future of his cause is bright, hoping that a new Nigeria is possible.
I remain convinced now more than ever that the course to serve our beloved nation Nigeria has been a worthy adventure for a worthy cause. In the words of Martin Luther King Jr., it is my earnest prayer that the good Lord will bless Nigeria with leaders not in love with money, but in love with justice, not in love with publicity, but in love with humanity. Leaders who can subject their particular egos to the pressing urgencies of the great cause of freedom.
Pastor Bakari says he is glad he and his team did not compromise on the values which are integral to building a new Nigeria, and that made him score 0 at the primaries. While appreciating his team and the people who supported his ambition despite the outcome, he congratulated Asiwaju Bola Tinubu for emerging as the party's standard bearer. He, however, said Tinubu's victory is a seal to his contribution to the party and the political sphere in Nigeria.
To my supporters across the nation and in the diaspora, I thank you for your unalloyed support despite the challenges leading up to the primaries. Our heads remain unbowed because we did not compromise on the values.
Labour's party presidential candidate Peter Obi is afraid the country is in her worst times, and if nothing is done urgently to correct the current ills, it may spell doom. Obi was speaking at Trim, where the wife of the presiding bishop of the denomination celebrated her birthday Thanksgiving in Lagos. The report. In efforts to bring soccer to communities, Pastor Leke Adeboye of the Redeemed Christian Church of God Worldwide, RCCG, has inaugurated a donated borehole to a community in Mushi, Lagos State. According to him, this is to ensure access to clean, healthy, portable water by the people of the community. The inauguration of the borehole was part of activities to celebrate the 40th birthday with the theme Shining the Light, which was marked with extravagant praises and Thanksgiving ministration concert in Mushi. We'll take a short break. When we return, the news continues. Stay with us.
This is it.